You know what time we on. You gonna say it? No. Adventure time! Alright, man, but yeah, man, 4 months ago, you know what I'm saying, I watched this video. It was getting too long, you know what I'm saying? It was getting long and I really just got sleepy. I was enjoying it, but I was gonna tackle it another day.
Stop the cap.
Another day turned to a month, then another month, then 4 months. You know, if you guys watched last video, you can skip ahead, and I'm gonna put the timestamp up. But I'm gonna put the old video in this video and merge it for people that didn't watch the first video. So it's gonna be like it's a whole video. But yeah, man, let's get straight into it. I'm not gonna say the intro because I already did the intro in that video. So see ya old viewers, you know what I'm saying, at the timestamp. You know what I'm saying? If you're not, then I'll see you soon. And let me know if you want me to react to the first episode and so on and so forth. First episode of Adventure Time, because I watched the whole series for real, because my memory is kind of foggy, and I actually looking at all these the lore, it's making me want to watch it, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Because I rewatched it one more time, and I was like looking at the things that I missed as a kid, and I want to watch, you know what I'm saying, even more after me watching this lore video, so I could see the things that I missed the second time watching it. So yeah, we could all like watch it together, man, if you want me to react to it again. But that's only if you guys want it. I'm probably gonna do it regardless, but you know, let me know if you want it. Yeah, man, let's get straight to the video, man. We're at 59:10. What time is it? You gotta say it. You want me to say it? Adventure time! Come along with me and the butterflies and be. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. If you don't know that, you missing out, man. What is good, YouTube? I know I'm probably back with another video. Today, we have a long one, man. I had somebody in the comments, so in the beginning of my video, I said basically, you know what I'm saying, different videos I won't react to because I don't know why YouTube is recommending me these videos. Even though it's good videos, I watch by myself, but it's not videos I react to. So YouTube is doing this job. But the obscure lore of Adventure Time, which I would probably watch by myself. I don't know if I would watch that on video because this is 3 hours long. Let me know if y'all want to watch that. Dude basically said in the comments he'll watch it, and I said, you know what I'm saying, I ain't throwing it out the window completely, you know what I'm saying, I'll react to it because, you know what I'm saying, I need to catch up on the lore, you know, because I don't know the complete lore of it, you know what I'm saying. I'm mixing a few, you know what I'm saying, jigsaw puzzles. But yeah, man, got a long one, so you want to stop the intro, you know. Shout out to French, real flow. Hope you enjoyed the video.
Adventure Time might just be the most iconic and greatest show of the 2010s.
This is my top 5 shows all time. You know what I'm saying? All time.
With a massive story spanning from before time began to thousands of years past modern day. But when did you stop watching? When Finn and Jake obtained the all-powerful Enchiridion from Mount Cragdor? When Ricardio left the Ice King's chest?
I just stopped watching. I actually finished it. I had stopped watching because I think we ran out of cable when I was younger, and I rewatched it all. Cause I had some few episodes that I missed, cause the cable will turn off. But me and my homie Dame, shout out Dame, we
when they met
to it
Billy and fought the Lich, Marceline saw about her father eating her French fries, the insane rule of the Earl of Lemongrab, Prismo in the Time Room, the resurrection of the vampires, the island of humans, the complete elemental takeover of Oo, or the massive gum war with the deity Gold. Or have you continued watching all the way into the Fiona and Cake show? Today I'm going to cover every inch of the story in all 3 shows, making it a total of 297 episodes, along with over 100 comics and multiple video games. There is so much canon, and I'm going in extremely comprehensive detail. So come on, grab your friends and about 3 hours of your time, and let's begin at the beginning. It all begins in the time before time existed. Before there was anything, there was nothing. And before there was nothing, there were monsters. Anywhere from 3 to billions. In an event that's like the monkeys writing Shakespeare, they basically say, you know what, let's create this. And thus the multiverse is born. The multiverse works like all other multiverses in media. A bunch of universes all connected in one big umbrella. And there are a lot of universes. The only known pre-nothingness monsters are the Lich, who is the manifestation of evil itself, Orgalorg, who will eventually become known as the Breaker of Worlds, and Kokentepi, revered as a very strong and powerful beast. Among the multiverse, there is
my eye burn. I don't know who that is.
a dimension that exists outside of time, that being the Time Room. To quote an intelligent little frumpy creature dude named Bucco, at the center of the multiverse is a dimension called the Time Room, believed to be the quasi-corporeal dwelling place of the almighty Prismo. The Time Room is the single dimension that exists outside of time. The Time Room produces time waves that are experienced by other dimensions. Some dimensions have permanent links that allow travel to and from. Others become linked temporarily by naturally forming wormholes, and others can become linked artificially by magic portals torn open by items of great power. Once the last gem is inserted into the Enchiridion, it will have the power to create a portal to any dimension in the multiverse. An activated portal creates a time dilation in which either end of the portal experiences a temporal synchronization, allowing for the safe passage of particles through a non-local region of space-time. End quote. Okay, good. So within like the first 1 to 2 minutes, we're all super confused. It's a little less confusing than what it sounds, but not that much less. Prismo the Wishmaster, the guy inside the Time Room, is super cool. Prismo is like a 2D, sorta, cosmic entity that loves and creates pickles. He doesn't really exist technically, as he's a dream projection and that has been sleeping for an unknown amount of time. Prismo is called the Wishmaster as he grants one wish to whomever is able to successfully reach his time room. Wishes can be as simple as a sandwich to creating a completely new alternate reality which results in a brand new dimension. Beyond being the Wishmaster, it is also his job to make sure all dimensions of the multiverse remain in check and nothing bad happens, like a crossover. Despite being more powerful than a god, he is subjected to audits by a god auditor named Scarab. He puts any and all cosmic entities in check after a severe rule breaking. Scarab's boss is Orbo, and that's his only known role. Get it? Role? He's a ball. Prismo and Orbo share a boss, who seemingly everyone fears, but nothing is known of them. Like Prismo, there are other cosmic entities in charge of big, important things, like Death. Prismo just so happens to be friends and parties with quite a few of them. The cosmic entity Death resides in the land of the dead, which is the waiting room lobby area for all souls. Death resides in a castle of light, and is responsible for where all the souls go. There are 50 dead worlds where souls are able to go based on how they lived their lives. The first being pretty bad, and the 50th is like the purest enlightenment. But up there, you don't remember anything about your previous life. In the middle dead worlds, you are yourself, but dead, retaining your memories. Just because you die doesn't mean you're dead. Some profound stuff. I think Aurelius said that or something. The souls may also visit the material world for reasons like unfinished business or to kill fellow ghosts. And another quote from philosopher Mung, just because you're living doesn't mean you can't be dead. So through weird rituals, mortals can access the land of the dead. When you die, allegedly you have the opportunity to pick between the land of the dead or the Nightosphere. However, varying examples may disprove that. And what is the Nightosphere? I'll touch on that in a second. Another cosmic entity is Life. She is in charge of reincarnation. She molds the souls into a new body with her pottery, and they can live on as a new life. They won't remember their previous one, but can have a loose connection with it. The Cosmic Owl is responsible for everyone's dreams in the multiverse. If the Cosmic Owl appears in someone's dream, they become a premonition dream, where the events come true in some capacity. If he appears in a dream where the dreamer dies, that becomes a croak dream, solidifying their future death. The Cosmic Owl and Prismo are very close, both loners in their isolated lives. The Cosmic Owl is secluded in his star motel room, forced to monitor all dreams with no room for a love life. The Catalyst Comet is another powerful cosmic entity, and is probably the most confusing one. Every 1,000 years it crashes into Earth and will either bring something wonderful or something horrible, or something in between. The comets are called an agent of change, changing the future for the better or for the worse, or whatever would be in between those. Every agent of change is reincarnated upon death so they may continue their original purpose. The Lich once took the form of the comet, bringing awful things, and Finn was once the comet as well, bringing an eternal hero.
This is like, I don't know, this is why this is one of my favorite shows all the time.
There are more beyond just those two, and I'll talk about it when necessary. The party god is just that, the god of partying. It sounds like a curse, but I think he enjoys it. He's invariably partying every waking moment. Also, not capable of a love life because he's too busy partying. This broke up his last relationship. If you're also a party animal and get into his good graces, he will grant you one wish, just like Prismo. However, I presume party god's wishes are less capable than Prismo's. The King of Mars, also known known as the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln himself, is also of cosmic entity stature. Grob Gob Glob Grod is another cosmic entity who does a lot of important stuff I'm not talking about yet, but they are a deity of a religion in the land of U. Chronologius Rex, aka the Lord of Eternity and All Time, oversees a place called the Vanishing Point, the center of all time. If a promise or oath is made to all time, it must be upheld, for if it is broken, the forswearer will be sent to the Vanishing Point, being fully erased from all of history. There are 4 cosmic entities representing 4 of the elements, but I'll get into those in a second. And finally, the most evil of evil, Golb, the embodiment of chaos and disorder. He resides in his own dimension of nothingness. The Lich, who is the literal embodiment of evil, claims he is the last scholar of Golb. So if the Lich, evil incarnate, admires him, he's got something going on. So let's just move to the Big Bang, or however Earth in the solar system came to be. Like our Earth, it has 4 elements: fire, ice, candy, and slime. Well, close enough to our Earth. There is also one anti-element, being lumps. Certain people or creatures embody these elements and wield their powers, and once they die, they will be reincarnated to someone new, and they will control them. They have always been and always will be. This is the symbol representing these 4. The lumps element is a little different, originating in a completely separate dimension called lumpy space. The 4 cosmic entities that represent the elements are Zon, the fire element, who is the sun, Lun, of the ice element, Arklathak of the candy element, and Nixat-A of the slime element. I don't know if that's how you say it, but the dude has an apostrophe in his name. Zon, Arklathak, and Nixat-A make sure to destroy every creature beginning to develop on Earth. Lun puts a stop to this, banishing the 3 from Earth. Lun destroys herself to forge the Sword of Lun, the only weapon able to stop them. It can only be used by the one that's worthy. Quote, a warrior...
Bro, I never knew none of this stuff. Man, we got a long way to go.
Who can withstand great bodily loss without injury. What Lun did was very noble. However, the way this world works, things repeat themselves. So all future ice elementals will always betray the other 3, even if the other 3 are the good ones. Now finally, to the first real time period, dinosaur times. That's what I'm calling it. No corrections, please. A green catalyst comet, which is the Lich, is hurtling towards Earth. The current 4 elements, Urgence Evergreen of ice, Chatsberry of candy, Balthus of fire, and Slimy D of slime, each rule their own kingdoms. The world is separated into 4 elemental quadrants, each of them ruling their own. Evergreen has a little dinosaur protege named Gunther, who respects Evergreen immensely, with hopes of one day possessing magic powers like his master. Evergreen stole Gunther's egg and mutated his brain to apparently make him sentient. Evergreen seeks to prevent the will of nature and stop the catalyst comet from hitting Earth. He senses this comet is far different from the others from past millennia, and this one would bring immense destruction and kill mostly everything. The other elements did not see this as an issue, as they will live on through reincarnation. So Evergreen took this into his own hands. He created a magical crown with immense power, granting the wearer a powerful wish. In order to power it, he had to get the ruby eyes of Magwood the lava dog, so he freezes the other elementals to prevent them from preventing him, fulfilling the ice elemental betrayal for this generation, and he blinds that fire dog with the help of Gunther. Evergreen finishes his crown, but Magwood was able to track him and attack his castle, imprisoning Evergreen under rubble. Now, in Gunther's hands to wish away the comet, he is overwhelmed by his greatest desire, to become his master. And he definitely didn't wish the comet away. He became what he saw in his master, mean and a powerful ice elemental. His wish deprived the crown of its wish-granting ability and permanently making it the ice crown, bestowing the burden of madness and ice powers unto the new wearer. This permanently immortalized Gunther, not physically, but inside the crown. All future and past wearers of the crown will be stored in it like a thumb drive. The Catalyst Comet crashes into Earth, being the thing that caused the dinosaur extinction, probably. The 4 elementals die, and it plants the non-corporeal Lich into Earth. Some time has passed. Okay, maybe a lot of time has passed. There are 3 types of people who begin to dominate the world. Humans, wizards, and vampires. The vampires came first, but went underground and hibernated during the Ice Age. The wizards formed Wizard City, a secret society type thing. The wizard cult worshipped one of the pre-nothingness monsters, Kokentepi, and got some wicked powers from him. Kokentepi eventually died for reasons unknown, and Wizard City was expropriated from the cult. The new guys were like, nah, dark magic. No, only good boy magic. Kokentepi's body was sealed away in a chamber beneath the city to contain its potential post-mortem powers. Imagine being so powerful that death isn't even good enough to contain you. The next major event, actually given a name, the first coming of Golb, the embodiment of chaos, in case you forgot, attacks Mars. So Actually, back up. Mars is just like Earth. It has its own civilization of human-adjacent people. The ruler is the King of Mars, aka Abraham Lincoln. Despite not being born yet, he is the ruler. Prominent Martian figures are Grob Gob Glob Grod, who, like I mentioned, will eventually become a religion's god. They are 4 dudes in one body, and they have a brother, Magic Man. Magic Man had a wife named Margles, and when Golb arrived, he wiped Margles from existence. Devastated Magic Man creates a defense system called Magical Automatic Resistance Generating Laser Energy Supplier, or for short, Margles. It looked identical to Margles and was installed supplier, or for short.
Why does it look familiar? Is it like, I cannot remember.
Margles. It looked identical to Margles and was installed on the highest mountain of Mars. Due to his clouded judgment and loss, the defense mechanism was created with Magic Man's nightmares and faulty spells, so it goes insane and the new Margles must be powered down. He spends a long time, potentially years, trying anything to get her back, even wishing for her from Prismo. But wish magic has no effect on Golb. So what do we do when we lose someone instead of handling it normally? We become a raging a-hole and a diabolical little riffraff. He terrorizes Mars for hundreds of years, and I'll resume that when we get to the hundreds of years. A new encounter with a cosmic entity. This time being the Catalyst Comet. This one is yellow and due to hit Earth very soon. The ancient monster Orgolorg is planning to prevent its collision and consume its power, so good ol' Abe commands Grob Gob Glob Grod to make the ancient monster not do the ancient monster behavior. Orgolorg was cast down to a dumb planet, and his entire memory would be repressed into the deepest depths of his mind, not remembering a thing. When Orgolorg was plummeting to that dumb planet, which was Earth, the gravity compressed his body at 9.8 meters per second, and crushed it into a cute little penguin. And now all this destroyer of worlds could do was go wank. He would then live among other penguins and creatures as time went on. Oh yeah, by the way, he's immortal. So he's lived among the ancient Egyptians, gladiators, the Renaissance, fought in World War I, became a movie director, and so on. The Yellow Catalyst Comet ultimately hit Earth, bringing another agent of change, but I don't know what. Perhaps it will be whatever is eventually Jake the Dog through reincarnation. Urgent's Evergreen's crown has been found by jolly old Saint Nick himself, Santa Claus, and he at some point in time has worn the crown, and his personality has been stored inside of it, along with a boy named Svein, who wore it once, presumably in the Middle Ages. Nothing more is known about either of their encounters with the crown. And now the year is 1809. Abraham Lincoln is born. Skip ahead just a little bit to April 15th, 1865. And he is dead. Sorry, too soon? Assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. And once he dies, he bargains with death and they negotiate a deal or something for Abraham Lincoln to be immortalized and become the King of Mars, which also time travels him back to before he was born, establishing him as the King of Mars. Time travel, wonderful. Skipping ahead in the mostly modern day, a few decades before the 2000s, there's a scientist/antiquarian, Simon Petrikov, who studies ancient, possibly magical items. He went on various expeditions to find these legendary objects, like the armor of Zeldron, the wand of disbursement, the Enchiridion, the porcelain objects.
Like I know about that armor, man. It's ain't. Is that how it go? Your armor's not. Something like that.
Zeldron, the wand of disbursement, the Enchiridion, the porcelain lamb, and most importantly, Evergreen's crown. He teaches in a university about these magical items, but is looked upon like a quack for believing in magic in the modern day. A student, Betty Groff, is a believer, and trusts Simon's work. Simon had plans of going to Pakistan to search for the illustrious Enchiridion. Betty was also heading off on a trip to Australia, but instead canceled her plans and accompanied Simon on his trip. Together they found it, but upon their return, Betty insisted Simon take all the credit, that it was his achievement finding it solo. He accepted her offer, and after laboratory analysis, they found some pages and ink were made from plant materials not found on Earth. Simon's and Betty's relationship grew, but it was rather Simon-centric, with him failing to realize the sacrifices she was making to push his work further and further while leaving hers in the dust, and this doesn't stop. Now as fiancés, they publish a book together, Mystic Rituals and Their Space-Time Applications, a spell book filled with spells that currently do not work due to the unmagical state of the world. They also learn of the presence sense of gold. Without knowing the consequences, Simon discovers Evergreen's crown and brings it home to his honey bunches, where he puts it on his head just for fun. Simon becomes the new host for Gunther's Wish, gaining the characteristics he viewed his master Evergreen had. Everything that made Simon Simon began slipping away. The crown slowly consumed him, his personality, his sanity, and much later his memory would be stripped of him, turning him into the loathed Ice King. With the crown, he became crazy, upsetting and scaring Betty, forcing her to briefly hide behind a corner close to him. Suddenly, a portal opens, caused by Simon, 1,000 years into the future, and future Simon was going to apologize for everything that happened in the last millennium. But instead, past Betty jumps into the portal, entering the land of Oo, leaving the current Simon to never know what happened to his princess. He believes that she ran away because of him, which is technically true. She ran away for him in the future. Simon begins taping himself and documenting his downward spiral. Even without the crown on, Simon's being has been infiltrated by Gunther's wish. His skin turns blue and his hair is turning white and growing rapidly. As his transformation is underway, he is able to harness ice and frost powers just like the ice elemental. So let's turn to the Nightosphere. The Nightosphere is another dimension, kind of how lumpy space is its own. The Nightosphere is hell, essentially. It's a scary, scary place. Hellish creatures, demons everywhere, constant death. It's not a nice place. Well, I mean, if you think it is nice, you might be a little whacked up. The leader of the Nightosphere is Hunson Abadir, the Lord of Evil. He and Death once competed for the amount of dead people they were bringing in. Hunson claims he doesn't even know where he comes from, if he had parents, etc. He supposedly created the Abadir Axe to slay the current Lord of Evil at the time, and once he was slew, he usurped the position. He's had access to Earth for thousands of years, but now he's back. And despite what you may assume he would do with a title like the Lord of Evil, he doesn't destroy buildings and cities. All he destroys is yo mama. He knocks up this lady, Elise, and they have a half-human, half-demon child.
He so dead was knocking on humans.
Is yo mama. He knocks up this lady, Elise.
Black queens forever, man. Hey, Hudson Abadir is he no ball. He no ball.
And they have a half-human, half-demon child, Marceline. She's basically a regular human, with the exception that she can suck the soul from people's bodies. So just a human with a slight tiny asterisk at the end. When Hunson was pouring the batter, I don't know if he was intentionally making pancakes, but he had to return to the Nightosphere either way, thus not really being in Marceline's life. I don't think they shared custody through dimensions, leaving Elise and Marceline living in a mobile home. During this time, the current elementals see a future vision of the Great Mushroom War. Somewhat similar to Evergreen's situation, the fire, candy, and slime elementals don't want to do anything about it, and keep the philosophy that they will live on. The ice elemental is a woman named Patience St. Pim, and she doesn't want to die, so she freezes herself to prevent her death, coupled with the fact that she wants to restore the world to the 4 elemental quadrants of ancient times. Once again, the ice elemental betrays the others. Finn and Jake just so happen to briefly time travel here, and they reek of magic as they come from a time with more magic present. This adds another reason to freeze herself so she can end up in a time with more magic, that way she can perform the elemental purification spell. Let me just clarify so no one's confused, even though Simon Petrikov has the crown and his ice powers from it, doesn't mean he is the ice elemental. He's not. They have to be reincarnated. A bit before the Great Mushroom War kicked off, this quirky dude, Mosif Maestro Giovanni, got all entrepreneurial and created Moko, after his own name. Moko creates robots. The first Moko robot was Amo, created to endlessly receive love, which ultimately made him repel it. Created as the opposite to Amo, made to endlessly give love and to take care of his future son, which he never ended up having, is BMO, short for Be More. BMO is an all-purpose video game system, along with every house appliance like a toaster, alarm clock, VCR, etc. Beyond BMO, there is a Mo robot for every letter. Mirroring Mo is another scientist named Hugo, who creates worse Mo units. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. How about some destruction? So anyway, global conflict, the Great Mushroom War occurs, completely obliterating nearly all Earth, wiping away nearly every single human. A massive something that wasn't a warhead hits the Earth, leaving a big old chomp out of Earth. This fallout also caused a...
Bro, I ain't lie, they have the best storyline. Adventure Time has the best storyline.
lot of mutants to suddenly exist. Some good, some not so good. Some humans didn't really die, but instead got all radiated and started smelling sounds, creating the race of oozers. Zombie whoopee cushion looking things with green pus that squelches through their orifices. Write that down on the list of the craziest stuff I've ever said. New creatures and species emerge as a result of the mutation, but other species from other dimensions also flood in, like rainicorns, who fed on humans. Icky. Zombies, mutants, and now vampires. Let's go, baby. Those bloodsuckers that have been hiding for a while deem it's an okay time to come out, now that their primary food source is, like, basically extinct. They are led by the Vampire King, who has a tarot court of 4 more vampires named the Fool, the Empress, the Hierophant, and the Moon. Zombies, mutants, now vampires. Who are we missing? Oh yeah, the literal embodiment of evil. The Lich finally decides, I think it was his decision, to become corporeal and basically annihilate everything. This is a really bad doo-doo event. But there's hope. Wait, the 1,000-year timer is up and the blue catalyst comet hits Earth, delivering the embodiment of good. And it becomes a butterfly. But trust me, bro, this thing eventually becomes Finn the Human. Hugo and his legion of surviving humans head into space and are saved by a species of alien called the Greys. Hugo fuses the humans and the Greys' DNA to become more space compatible, and now they don't age and have pointy ears. This thing, a knockoff of Sheldon Plankton, a service droid of the Drift, rescues the doomed human-gray hybrids and brings them to a derelict and partially abandoned space station called the Drift. Hugo saw the opportunity of the Drift and the poor condition it was in, along with its alien inhabitants. So he carpe diem that mofo and began reconstruction. Once the station was not super sucky, he began the construction of the Unity Pod, which requires bits and bobs from other pods of the Drift that must be foraged for. So Hugo installs Hugo Mats, vending machines that do that very thing. In taking pieces from one end of the station to another, it begins destroying the Drift, all for this Unity Pod. But if they use the Drift pieces for the Unity Pod, eventually won't it just be a new Drift? The Drift of Theseus. Never mind. Hugo's great value brand BMO, Seago, actually's his master, that he will ultimately destroy the Drift. So like all whistleblowers, Seago gets scrapped in the garbage room. This will be adjourned. Not surprising, the tried and true capitalism survives the apocalypse. A company called Superporp, grape-flavored high fructose corn syrup, or as us Americans call it, pop, or soda if you're from the loser states. This grape drink company manages to survive the war with a fully operational and automatic underground factory, still delivering cans to vending machines all across what's left of the nation. Same goes for Moco. Mo is still alive. The Mo robots are still being created, and they live underneath their factory. There's also a comic called Blee, an in-universe comic series everyone loves. In the far future, Finn and Ice King especially love it, and Ice King wants to write for it, but never gets a response. Finn and Ice King venture out to the headquarters to find a guard that's been guarding the building full of skeletons and dust. Blee hasn't been operational in hundreds of years, and the guard didn't even know it, feeling like his last half a millennium was wasted on protecting nothing. Finn and Ice King write the last issue of Blee together. Sorry, that's slightly out of order, but I didn't really want to separate it because I think it's formatted better if I just put it all together. Marceline and Elise somehow survived and are forced to scavenge around the nothingness of the world until Elise dies, and Marceline, just a young girl, well, half-demon girl, has to survive on her lonesome. Not for long, because you know who else survived completely on his own with totally no magic involved? Simon, soon to be Ice King, and Marcy would survive together in the horror of the world. Simon gifts Marceline a teddy bear he found, and she names him Hambo, becoming one of her most prized possessions. Simon becomes a father figure to Marceline, and they become attached to each other. Not literally. Thought I should clarify that, because that doesn't sound too far-fetched, being that he's magic and she's half-demon. Simon knows this is only fleeting, as one day he will be completely consumed by the crown. He continuously uses the crown to protect her from the dangers of the world, but its repeated use certainly isn't doing him any favors. Marcy comes down with a fever, and Simon is in a desperate quest for chicken noodle soup, eventually being gifted some after demolishing a bunch of oozers while singing the Cheers theme song. He loves that show, just an FYI. He used the crown for protection, accelerating his transformation. The thing that gifted him the soup was the mother gum, sentient gum that is strewn all throughout the desolated city. A few years pass, Marceline has grown up a little bit, and Simon is barely Simon. After finding a demon from the Nightosphere, he puts 2 and 2 and is determined to return Marceline to her father, who he just assumes is still there and wants her. Simon starts failing to record and journal his everyday activities, like he has been for a while, and so Marcy takes over. However, Simon continues to jot down a few thoughts thoughts here and there when he's able. Simon finds a copy of his old book he wrote with Betty and opens up a portal to the Nightosphere. Now the spells actually work with the terrible state of the world. He casts a binding spell unto Hunson so that he and Marceline will eventually meet one day, and he has successfully put Marceline en route to her father. He gives Marcy a recording for Betty, photos of Marcy's mother, that he somehow has, and a Nightosphere portal opening tutorial. Now Simon's mission is complete. The thing his sanity was hanging on for is safe. Well, kinda. She's still in the apocalypse. And thus he succumbs to the crown, becoming the Ice King. Ice King begins to fulfill the crown's needs of an ice kingdom, and just unleashes ice onto the land. So while Simon does that, Marcy meets a few werewolves who help her summon Hunson to Earth. Upon Hunson's arrival, he sucks her werewolf's friends' souls, leaving behind just their skin wrappers. Marceline doesn't like her dad, but stays with him for protection and information. The Lord of Evil decides to pass down the Abadir axe to Marceline. Along with him creating it, it's said to be a family heirloom. Take your pick. Hunson wants to help the remaining werewolves from this growing vampire problem, so once him and Marcy reach their settlement, he kills all of them, claiming it was basically the humane thing to do because they were gonna die anyway. The guy by her father, she goes to calm down by making herself some fries. Hunson commits the cardinal sin and eats her fries. This instills the most vile hatred for her father, inspiring a hit song from all of our childhoods, the Fry Song. We all know it. Why did he eat her fries? And this little incident would inspire her very long music career, using the Abadir axe as her new instrument, giving it a dual purpose as a base, but is still a proficient weapon. She exiles Hunson back to the Nightosphere, and that was the end of that. Marceline befriends a unicorn, and they live happily ever after. No, that never happens. The unicorn is killed pretty quickly by vampires, so in a heroic vendetta, she vows to completely wipe out the entire race of vampires. I smell genocide. Marceline gets really good at killing, but then she goes to court. Not a courtroom, the Legion of Vampires. She picks them off one by one, slowly absorbing their powers with her soul-sucking ability she received from her father. She gained the ability to fly, invisibility, regeneration, and shape-shifting. The only vampire remaining was the Vampire King. Marceline happens to find a small settlement of humans who wear animal hats to protect their necks. They are in the process of boarding a freighter and setting sail for a new land in fear of the coming winter and unstable living conditions. Marceline now faces the Vampire King on the boat, and she successfully stakes his heart, and at the same time, he bites her neck, leaving one vampire, Marceline. She doesn't leave with the humans and stays on the mainland, becoming known as Marceline the Vampire Queen, and now she's also immortal. Also, she has no vampires to rule over, so that title is basically only ceremonial. She also accidentally kills her own dog, Schwabble. Just like her adopted father, she seeks out a certain book. The book, dare I say, the Enchiridion, using it to resurrect Schwabble, making him immortal as well. And then what does she do with this ultra-powerful book? Puts it under her head for a pillow and hibernates for hundreds of years. The boat of humans settled on a wee little archipelago. They form the Founder's Island and do what we humans do best: colonize. Joe, one of the humans, who is also one of Marceline's friends, gets lost, so Two-Bread Tom, leader of the freighter and her father figure, blames himself, deciding the safest thing to do was isolate the islands from the outside world. Joe returned but didn't like the isolationist idea, so she and a few defectors escaped as the Guardian was under construction. They became known as the Hiders, eventually a derogatory term. The Guardian is a massive robot protector kept in the water to prevent anyone from leaving, or anyone from coming in.
This was scary.
The humans would then recreate what life was like before the Mushroom War, but 1,000 times better with better advanced technology. Moko also had some responsibility in helping their advancements, whether it be with the Guardian or something else. Hundreds of years later, the humans are still thriving. They can't all be cool like Marceline and Ice King and become immortal, so Two-Bread Tom and the original humans have long since died and are now looked upon as the founders, and an almost godlike worship respect thing is attributed to them. After all this time, the island is the only place where humans can be found. They were all dead on the mainland. But why? I don't know. Natural selection, I guess? But speaking of mainland, so just to clarify, we're hundreds of years since the war. There's a small remaining chunk of America, now called the Land of Oo. All history of before the war has been essentially erased. As far as we're concerned, the land of Oo is the only land left on the earth. The mother gum, the quasi-sentient-ish pink sludge that just exists in Oo, pops out a sentient pink girl named Bonnibel, who is the reincarnated candy elemental. And then mother gum pooped out a boy named Nettie, not a candy elemental. Nettie is a spaz, an agoraphobic animal. Bonnibel is the only one that hones him back in from his craziness. Like a hamster with their little water sucker thingies, Nettie finds enjoyment squelching a candy tree, which causes him to secrete the liquid he's sucking in. Bonnibel grows up a little bit and is super lonely because she's more human-like and has an animal for a brother. So with her super science-y brain, she creates some candy family members. Uncle Gumbald, Aunt Lolly, and Cousin Chicle. Gumbald enjoys a little too much freedom and overzealously wants to make an entire city of candy, but Bonnibel forbids it. And instead of obeying, what should we do? Create a potion that will make the victim brain dead, called Dum Dum Juice. Gumbald creates a new candy person named Mr. Cream Puff for Bonnibel to date to distract her. Gumbald forms an alliance with Lolly and Chicle, but quickly use the Dum Dum Juice on them anyway, turning Lolly into a piñata called Manfred and Chicle into a cookie named Crunchy. Since Lolly is now lost inside that body, she was technically his wife, so Uxoricide. Oh, yeah. And his supposed son, Chicle. Filicide. Oh, yeah. Bonnie sabotages his plans and uses the juice on Gumbald, turning him into Punchy the Punch Bowl. And thus, since he had the Dum Dum Juice used on him, which was the uncle she created, and it kinda killed him, wouldn't that be avunculicide? Oh, yeah. Her created family remains trapped inside these docile bodies, but cannot do anything about it, as Punchy, Manfred, and Crunchy each have their own personalities and are their own people, with no hatred for her. Bonnibel sees how great it is to have power over the simple-minded, so she plans on creating an entire...
If you really think about it, she's a villain too, ain't gonna lie to you.
Kingdom of these goofballs, just like Gumbald wanted. With the creation of the Candy Kingdom underway, Bonnibel crowns herself Princess Bubblegum. She hasn't forgotten about Nettie. The entire kingdom will surround the tree that he infinitely suckles on, and the juice he secretes powers all of the Candy Kingdom. She also locks away the Mother Gum for its safety under the kingdom. Henceforth, I'm calling Princess Bubblegum PB, just so you all know. She goes to a concert performed by a queen wielding a bass axe. Marceline has awoken from her slumber and has become a rad and gnarly rock star in Oo. Marceline throws out her shirt to PB and they fall in love. During their relationship, PB goes mining, finding red and blue gems, which are sentient, but they don't know that. Carl the red gem is in love with Gemma the blue gem. They were once meteors that crash into Earth in dino times. Carl shoots lasers and Gemma can activate robots. She gives Carl to Marceline and PB keeps Gemma. So remember the blue catalyst comet, the embodiment of good, then a butterfly, then pink goop, which is not the mother gum, and then it becomes Shoko, this green lady with one arm, after her parents traded it for a computer. Can you blame them? You can't miss the new Fortnite season. They abandoned her in a dojo and she had nowhere to turn but crime. She and her tiger, a previous version of Jake the dog, are hired by the Bath Boy gang to steal the amulet that contains Gemma the gem worn by Princess Bubblegum. Instead of stealing it, Shoko accidentally befriends PB and becomes a trusted warrior to her. PB shows Shoko her new project, the Gumball Guardians, two massive gumball machine giants entrusted to protect the Candy Kingdom against the greatest threats. And with Gemma's powers, she powers them. The Bath Boy gang shows up and threatens Shoko to complete the job. So despite PB being really great to her, giving her a new robo-arm and everything, Shoko tries to take the amulet, but is blasted by a Gumball Guardian into the radioactive river surrounding the kingdom, and she survives. I guess. But she's now a disgusting gelatinous blob and manages to crawl away with the amulet, and then she dies. Her body will then transform into a massive willow tree. The cycle...
Man, this is a great story, man. Some of the stuff I did not know, for real. Oh, man.
Of life. It's like they always say, the QVC Ring channel is my favorite. A couple of people have probably said that. PB and Marcy's relationship works for a while, but they are complete opposites. All business and all party. She has a kingdom to build, and she has a music career to pursue. PB is summoned to one of the earliest kingdoms of Oo, the Glass Kingdom, where everything is made of glass, even the people. Which would suck. This lizard thing named Malto Larvo became a misunderstood fire lizard and began attacking the glass people. PB is supposed to defeat Malto. Marceline tagged along, but was demanded that she return home as tensions are rising and their relationship is deteriorating. Instead of being the one left in the dust like Simon had to do to her, Marceline riffs up an awesome song and breaks up with PB in such a cruel way. For some bonus points, it was so cruel, Malto Larvo went back into his cave. Maybe he was just embarrassed watching a public breakup. The glass people reign Marceline as their savior and becomes a legend to the glass people. Despite their breakup, PB still keeps that shirt she originally got, and accidentally charging it with a ton of emotional magical energy from sleeping with it a lot. Now Marceline has a boyfriend, Ash, and he sucks. He's a misogynist. Together they move into a willow tree treehouse. This tree is what Shoko's blob dead body grew into. After her and PB's breakup, Marceline leaves Carl the gem in a chest inside the treehouse. This gem story is slightly retconny, but it mostly works. They eventually move out and Ash sells Marceline's prized possession, Hambo, the teddy bear Simon gave to her 1,000 years ago. He sold it to Maja the Sky Witch for a potion. It was so valuable to Maja because it contained a significant amount of emotional magic energy, which powers Maja's magic. Quicker than Ash could say the 1950s were a better time, Marceline dumps him. Bouncing over planets, in Mars, everyone is fed up with Magic Man's fiendish behavior. He unleashes 3 non-traditional plagues, one being the Plague of Hair, where all water turned to hair, and when drank or eaten, because I don't think hair could be drank, you would go bald. This affected Grob Gob Glob Grod, forcing them to wear this helmet, armor, trapezoid, pointy
Bro, I did not know that, man.
thingy. Abraham Lincoln punishes Magic Man, banishing him to Ooh, but he's given a transporter that allows him to return. The transporter can only be activated by someone who cares about someone, effectively keeping Magic Man in Ooh, terrorizing and grifting the people there, which doesn't really seem like an effective punishment. At some point, he captures Tiny Manticore, who becomes his pet and simultaneously his hostage, and together they live in a drab little shack. Now it's been close to 1,000 years since the Lich became corporeal, but he hasn't done anything in all of that time that actually harms anyone. He has a well of power where he's been gaining more and more power, anticipating his ultimate attack. One time, Ice King and Hunson Abadir created a dungeon underneath the Ice Kingdom. Ice King puts a picture of Betty in his section, the Hall of Just Ice. In Hunson's section, the Night Marrowsphere, he fills it with monsters, of course, and oh, the Lich contributed too. I don't think he was invited. But in his section, he put the Echo of the Lich, a morsel of his own soul. Ice King and Hunson met the Lich, however the encounter was ephemeral, and they woke up 3 weeks later obfuscated and hungry. Much later, Finn, Jake, and Ice King destroyed the Echo of the Lich. The legendary hero Billy, the coolest dude around, Ooh's greatest warrior, boyfriend to Canyon, this lady with water powers, managed to fight the Lich, which ended in the developing Candy Kingdom. The Lich was frozen in amber in the very center of the Candy Kingdom, diminishing the threat. Billy went on to live his awesome life and eventually got old and stopped being the greatest warrior ever. Another much less known explorer is Tree Trunks, a seemingly innocuous but deviant and salacious little elephant who has had many adventures and escapades. She's also kind of a player. She marries Randy, her high school sweetheart, but divorces him in the name of adventure, and she becomes a pirate. She meets her next husband, Danny, who only wanted her pirate ship. Tree Trunks didn't sign a prenup, so she maroons Danny on an island and tries to kill Mr. Faduti, Danny's conspiracy partner. Then the promiscuous elephant starts her own company with the pirate treasures and becomes even richer, having vague involvement with Moko and falling in love with her seal secretary Wyatt. Then they get married by a man made of earwax who claims to be the true king of Ooh. But he's only a con man, and he's made of earwax. I just have to mention that a second time.
I did not know that.
I bet he stinks. Tree Trunks sells her company and gives her fortune to the King of Ooh, and her and Wyatt settle in an apple orchard. Tree Trunks makes the most delicious apple pies, and Wyatt loves them almost as much as Tree Trunks loves Hanky Panky, and because of his addiction, she divorces him too. In the newest of adventures, she gets into polygamy, with a bunch of the Greys, the alien species that merge with Hugo and those humans. They come from a different dimension, and how they met is up to
They're getting that alien day.
everyone's interpretation, but it's not surprising in the slightest. With the Greys, she has 5 children, and adding on to this insane marriage, or relationship I suppose, they only visit every few years, so I wouldn't even call it a relationship. Back to the Candy Kingdom. PB is creating tons of citizens. She creates the Gum, similar to Mother Gum, as a replacement leader if anything happens to her. But it's just too nice, and incessant hugging becomes an issue, so she gave it its own kingdom. Later, the Gum comes back to take over the Candy Kingdom, so they have to kill it. Since Princess Bubblegum helps, isn't it technically filicide? Oh yeah. She set out to make a new heir, less sweet, birthing the Earl of Lemongrab, her vice princess. Except he's a dude. Lemongrab is one of the very few candy people that was unacceptable. He flails and screams, being one of the only failures of PB. He too is sent away, but remains the vice in case anything were to happen. All other candy people are made like her transformed family, stupid and harmless. Cinnamon Bun is the primest of prime examples of this. His extreme stupidity is also attributed to him supposedly being half-baked. There's Starchy, the gravedigger, who also runs a radio show called The Graveyard Shift. He's somewhat of a rebel, thinking PB is a tad totalitarian. Colonel Candy Corn, an old war veteran, despite there not being any wars he could have served in, I think. Root Beer Guy and Cherry Cream Soda are created and instantly married. Choco Berry and Mr. Cupcake, more prominent candy people, also get married, but that doesn't happen until the modern day. The Banana Guards, there's tons of them, but with their harmless and stupid candy DNA, the part of their name that says guards makes them oxymoronic. As a result, a legion of robots similar to the Gumball Guardians is created, called Rattleballs. They were so good at fighting crime, they got rid of all of it, which then made them resort to violence, so they had to be deactivated. Well, I mean, killed, really. Compressed into a little Wally cube. They were killed by PB. Also, since they were created by PB and then killed by PB, doesn't that mean filicide? But a single robot escaped to a junkyard. He gives himself a unique name, Rattleballs, and then continues to live in a dump for many years to come. Finally, an intelligent candy person and PB's advisor and butler, Peppermint Butler. He's so much smarter than the average candy person that he learns dark magic and becomes acquainted with important figures like Hunson Abadir and becomes great friends with Death. He might be a little evil himself. There was this guy called Peacemaster who came to the kingdom to protect PB from a dark magic force, which was Pep-Butt, but Pep-Butt defeated Peacemaster by forcing him to back down after turning his children into demons. And then Pep-Butt forces Peacemaster to humiliate himself in front of his kids. Evil! That was probably the most cruel and evil thing done to an innocent character in the entire show. Peacemaster says he will come back for revenge, which he does, but the weirdest thing about Peacemaster, he has a regular human minivan. Kinda weird because there's no vehicles. Sometimes certain candy people die or get lost, but that's completely a-okay. Since they were created by PB in the first place, she can just recreate them, exactly as they once were. It's a little up in the air if they retain their memories or not, just contradicting examples of that. Let's just say, yeah. It is confirmed, though, that some candy people are just better than others, are just too special to be resurrected. So PB gets to play God if one is just better than the others, which also makes no sense. If one is better, wouldn't you want that one alive and not the lesser ones? The quintessential example of the recreation is James. This wafer thing guy went with Finn, Jake, and PB to the wastelands of Ooh, still crawling with oozers. James sacrifices himself for their escape, but becomes an oozer himself. She creates a new one and is awarded a medal for his heroic act that he does not even remember. He fakes his own death so he gets another medallion, and then another one is created. Rinse and repeat, and now we have 1, 2, 3, at least 3 less than 50 Jameses. The original James Oozer comes back with a small army, and the James wanting that same praise attack them, all kind of dying? I mean, they lose their individuality and just become a massive James clump. I don't think there's 25 different heads thinking for it, even though there was 25 Jameses, so some of them just kinda coalesced with it. PB sweeps James to the 26th power under the rug and forces him to the wastelands. PB claims to have this unwavering love for her people, but it's a little fabricated. Constantly cloning them and replacing them just dehumanizes, well, decandyizes them, demeans the meaning of their lives, and numbs the effect of their deaths, and their whole existence. Bolstering a long and rich history, the Candy Kingdom is the pinnacle of Ooh, making it the most important land in most Ooh residents' eyes. Princess Bubblegum sees it this way too. She's a dictator, but a good one, if that's possible. She wants the best for her candy people in all of Ooh. Being incredibly skilled with science and diplomacy, she is looked upon very fondly by everyone. With some exceptions of rumors she was once a tyrant, but hey. Happens to the best of us, right? Because of her importance and stature, she is somewhat viewed as the unofficial leader of Uu, despite there being multiple kingdoms besides the sugary one. To some of her own candy people though, she's extremely scary, as really bad games of telephone and twisted tellings of how it went down with Uncle Gumbald makes her sound like a ruthless killer. Because of stories like this, the entire Banana Guard, for example, treat her like a god and try to do no wrong, even subduing their own personal leisures and avocations like artistry. She does have a security system installed, patrolling everything that happens in all of the Candy Kingdom and keeping track of everything every citizen does. Okay, look, she has some paranoia. What's the big deal? Welcome to the Fire Kingdom, a much more lawless and cruel place. Its ruler is the Flame King, and he got there by killing all of his family in succession for the crown. Wait a second, killing his family, you say? Familicide. Oh yeah. Mo had his hand in this kingdom just like he did with the Guardian of the Island and some sort of involvement with the Martian civilization as well. He created the Sleeping Fire Giants. They ignited the flame which made it possible for the fire people to exist and start the kingdom. And Mo did that because he was bored. Mayhaps. I don't know. The Flame King has a daughter, Phoebe the Flame Princess, henceforth FP. She is the reincarnation of the Flame Elemental, but she doesn't know that. The Flame King hears a prophecy that she will become more powerful than him and will overthrow him. So like all family before he sends her to her death, leaving her to die in the forest. But she doesn't die, being dropped off to a lumberjack by Flame King's squire in pity for her. She burns down his cabin and breaks Smokey Bear's rule and causes multiple trees to burn, creating a massive pathway through the forest, eventually being interrupted by PB. She returns her to the Fire Kingdom, where she insists that if FP ever got into a romantic relationship, her emotional stability could burn the entire world down. Effectively doing the same thing as killing her, Flame King imprisons her in a lantern above his throne where she will remain for 1.4 decades. The other two elementals during this time are Patient St. Pim, who is still frozen, and the Slime Princess, ruler of the Slime Kingdom, one of the many surrounding kingdoms of Uu besides the two largest. All of these kingdoms are ruled by princesses and are typically much smaller than the Candy Kingdom. A majority of these princesses are recognized in the Princess Day Summit, where they gather and deliberate princess business. Only registered princesses are invited. In attendance is Princess Bubblegum, Flame Princess, Marceline, despite being a queen and not actually governing anyone, the Breakfast Princess, Muscle Princess, Slime Princess, Raggedy Princess, Gridface Princess, Embryo Princess, Wildberry Princess, Hot Dog Princess, Emerald Princess, Engagement Ring Princess, Skeleton Princess, Turtle Princess, Elbow Princess, Jungle Princess, Peanut Princess, Purple Princess, Space Angel Princess, Princess, Strudel Princess, and Old Lady Princess. Lumpy Space Princess was not invited, but came anyway. But the oddity about her is she is a conventional princess, where her parents Lumpy Space King and Queen rule Lumpy Space. She governs nobody. And even weirder, Lumpy Space is a separate dimension to Uu, and really shouldn't have anything to do with Uu affairs. Most importantly, LSP is the Lump's elemental reincarnation. The Lumpy Space people reproduce similarly to vampires. One bite and you turn into one of them. Once they get married, they fuse together, so no divorces. Another princess is Ghost Princess, who was once Warrior Princess. She loved her enemy's leader, Clarence. Right before a battle, Clarence cast a spell on her armor so he didn't accidentally kill her. She happened to change armor after spilling mustard on it, unknowing of the spell, and as luck would have it, Clarence killed her. Ghost Princess's memories are lost, and she's doomed to roam the mortal world until she can figure out how she died. Much later, Finn and Jake come across the ghost of Clarence, who offed himself, exploding from liquid cheese consumption due to his own sadness over the death of Ghost Princess. Jake actually witnessed this. Ghost Princess and Ghost Clarence fall in love, not knowing their own history. Finn and Jake help them figure out their causes of death, freeing them both to the 50th Dead World. Later, Clarence cheats on Ghost Princess, proverbially stabbing her again. So she just bounces back to the mortal Uu and lives there, also becoming a ghost hunter, helping PB free the Candy Kingdom of ghosts on one occasion. Some of these princesses possess a gem of power, usually embedded in their crowns and tiaras. The gems of power are jewels that have various magic powers, like protecting the wearer from the Lich's mind control abilities. But most importantly, the gems are used in spells with the Enchiridion. I know I've talked a lot about that book, and I haven't explained it. And you know what? I'm still not going to. But on the cover, there are slots for each of the gems. The people that own the gems are Princess Bubblegum, Engagement Ring Princess, Emerald Princess, Hot Dog Princess, Embryo Princess, and the Ice King. Billy's nose is also a gem, but it isn't inserted into the book. Instead, it projects light onto the book. It's worth noting, LSP's star in her forehead is technically a gem of some kind, but the purpose is unknown. Moving over to the somewhat totalitarian place, the island the humans escape to. Still isolationists, they control most aspects of life. Every child that is born is already assigned a role in their society. Anti-Hyder propaganda is a major part of their life. One of the roles they can receive is being a Seeker. They learn their roles in a class like everyday school. Kara Strong, Seeker XJ77, is our star Seeker. All Seekers are given a cybernetic implant that controls them if need be. Dr. Gross is their teacher and the person behind their apparatuses. Kara has a friend Frida who grows a strong desire to leave the island and begins the blueprints for her exodus. She eventually attempts to escape, and despite all her teachings, Kara assisted in her escape, but Dr. Gross activated her implant, forcing Kara to destroy Frida's boat, sending Frida to re-education. A con man on the island is Martin Mertens. He trades escape plans for loot with hiders, and then reports them to the proper authorities, getting paid from both sides. One hider named Widow forces Martin to accompany her down to the beach, where they can make their supposed escape. Kara Strong is sent to capture the hiders, mistaking Martin for one, breaking both of his legs. Oops. This lands him in the hospital, where he meets Dr. Minerva Campbell. Opposites attract, and the two fall in love. It's what they say. Everyone loves a bad boy. I think people say that. I don't really know. I haven't been outside in 33 days. I've been watching Adventure Time. Minerva helps Martin escape his impending re-education, and they create a life together. The blue catalyst comet, which became the butterfly, then the pink goop, then Shoko, now has a new reincarnation. Martin and Minerva's child, Finn Mertens, aka Finn the Human. Finally, an hour in, we now have Finn. A year passes and Widow and fellow hiders escape re-education and unleash revenge on Martin while Minerva is at work. Martin is forced to escape the house with baby Finn onto a small raft. After running for a majority of his life, he was finally settled, and now he's forced to run again. His intention wasn't to leave the island, only to escape Widow, but the Guardian doesn't know the difference and attacks. Martin takes out one of the Guardian's eyes, but both Martin and Finn are separated and become Flotsam and Jetsam in the water, escaping the Guardian and leaving the island. Minerva returns home to a jacked up house and now an emptiness of unanswered questions, thinking Martin had finally stopped running. Her conclusion is that Martin was really a hider all along and took their baby, conning her for the past year. Finn floats on the raft all the way to Oo, imparting a great fear of the ocean.
I hate that they never found out that the dad was just, trying to help.
Unto him.
I'm not trying to help, trying to run away.
Even though he doesn't remember this event, nor his parents, nor his origin. Dr. Gross sends off Kara Strong to retrieve Finn. Kara ultimately crashes into Oo, forgetting everything, including her name and her entire purpose for being there. The implant no longer works, so she joins a tribe of humans. Close to humans, but more fishy. But still wearing animal hats, so Kara fits right in. They live in Butopia, an abandoned underground mall. Lubglubs, or what I like to call them, demonic hellspawns, chase the humans away, forcing them to live in the Candy Kingdom sewers. About 5 years after this, Dr. Gross accidentally releases a disease onto the island, killing well over 50% of the population. Dang it, don't you just hate it when you accidentally genocide? Being the last doctor remaining, Minerva uploads her consciousness into the World Wide Web. Well, their equivalent. Making a bunch of Minerva robot clones. This technically kills her, corporeally, but is alive in the computer. The clones are not her emotionally, they only have the purpose of helping. But in the main computer where she originally uploaded herself, she is still herself. Dr. Gross escapes the island, creating a home base in Oo, where she continues wicked experiments on creatures and herself. Now that we're back in the land of Oo, Joshua and Margaret are two married dogs that run Joshua and Margaret's investigation. They're doggy detectives. Their first case is to investigate a poltergeist in their own office. Turns out it's from a thing called a clock bear that is in their attic, but it's not in their attic yet. It is in the future, but it's causing time slips. The poltergeist is a future Finn and Jake trying to communicate with them. Yeah, time travel's cool, but man, does it complicate things. A short time later, Tree Trunks reports that her pies are being stolen and there are monster tracks suggesting it's more than a regular thief. They investigate it and it ends up just being Lard Boy Wyatt, stealing his own wife's pies. She even tells him that he could have just asked. Case closed. However, they find a real monster trail and follow it despite Joshua's pleading that Margaret is too pregnant. The monster ends up being a blue shape-shifting creature named Warren Ampersand. He is from a planet called Nara, where he's the only inhabitant. He wants to be immortal, so what he does is grooms a host from afar for children on other planets. He impregnates them briefly, birthing a new son, letting the son inherit his shape-shifting powers, then lures them to Nara, shape-shifting into an entire fabricated city to deceive the son, and then drains his son's shape-shifting energy via a belt, and then killing the son. And then he does this all again when he gets close to death, forever regenerating himself and killing his offspring. Oh yeah, filicide. Man, though, that's crazy evil. I just hope that that doesn't happen in real life, because that'd basically be impossible. Oh, yeah, the Venmo vampire, injecting his son's blood into him so he can live forever. Joshua finds Warren Ampersand and he impregnates Joshua on the top of his head, and then Warren dips. Joshua and Margaret meet back up and out pops a baby from Joshua's head. And then a baby pops out of Margaret. The baby from Joshua would be named Jake, who inherited his other father's shape-shifting stretch powers. Also the reincarnation of Shoko's tiger and perhaps the yellow catalyst comet. This predestined sucking of life could have possibly instilled Jake with his immense fear of vampires. And the baby from Margaret would be named Jermaine, just a regular dog. So they have one child he gave birth to and one she gave birth to, and they never let the boys know. They adopt a third child, created by a magic queen. Gata has a portal in her mouth. The queen is banished to another dimension, but the portal in the mouth connects them. Gata finds her way to Joshua and Margaret, and they adopt her. Later on, Joshua and Margaret would discover baby Finn, stuck to a leaf, and the adhesive is Finn's own Finkel. They think he's a mudfish at first, so they call him Finn. By luck, that's his real name. And they choose to adopt him and raise him with their puppies, and Gata. Martin, meanwhile, doesn't have the nicest of stories. He is pulled out of the water by Mr. Faduti, the dude Tree Trunks tried to kill, and Martin most likely has amnesia. He ends up a space criminal and can only remember dregs of his past. Joshua finds Gata's mouth portal, and to close it, uses a magic item. Gata turns to stone and wipes herself from all of their memories, leaving just a stone statue. A decade later, Finn and Jake break the statue, and Gata comes back to life. She knows them, but they don't know her. The portal is reopened, but Gata says, nah, magic queen lady bad, sacrifices herself, becomes stone again, and Finn and Jake forget about her again, making Gata null and void. Finn, Jake, and Jermaine are raised in the office and eventually a house atop a hill, filled with all kinds of cool monster artifacts and treasures from adventures. Joshua's adventurous personality inspires Finn and Jake immensely, while Jermaine, the regular plain dog, not so much. From age 0, Joshua wants to train them to be great fighters, designing dungeons for them in the future. In one of these dungeons, Joshua had an epic prize for Finn, the Demon Blood Sword. Joshua's an experienced demon hunter, so he shackles up his longtime demon rival Keoth, and drinks holy water to make himself immune to the blood-sucking. Keoth then sucks his own blood to forge a sword to escape, but Joshua yanks the sword from him, and now Joshua owns the Demon Blood Sword. He leaves it in this dungeon as the future reward. Keoth goes back to his world, the broke-up dimension, and begins his vendetta for Joshua. Throughout their lives, Joshua and Margaret both made hologram tapes for them. Joshua made them for information in the dungeons he set up, and Margaret made them as parenting tutorials. As the kids grew up, they warned Jermaine that Jake might eventually go through some changes. To be honest, I don't think they knew what that meant, but they were kind of deceptive. They never told Jake about his birth, they just told him he got his powers from rolling around in magic mud. And they told Finn he was born from a cabbage. During a winter, Joshua takes Finn and Jake out, and they stumble across the tree fort. Amazed in its glory, toddler Finn says they should move in there. Quote, when we grow up, we'll live here and be best friends and spend every day together having adventures. For all time. When baby Finn said all time, he made an unbreakable oath to Chronologius Rex, and if that oath were to ever be broken, he would be sent to the vanishing point. A few years later, Finn and Jake move into the treehouse Marceline still technically owns, even though she doesn't live there. I mean, squatters' rights though. Finn has technically been there since the treehouse was made. If we really want to get technical, he is the tree because of Shoko. Also, water nymphs live in a pond outside the treehouse. Just thought I should mention that. I don't really know why. Also outside the treehouse is Science Cat and Shark, who come every day at 4 to fight Finn and Jake in a recreational way. They always decapitate Shark, but he regrows his head within the hour. Shark eventually died of old age, so Science Cat brings Spear Bear as his partner. Joshua would teach Jake something that would set him on an opposite path to his brother, pickpocketing. Since dogs age much faster than humans, Jake and Jermaine are already adults while Finn is still just a kid, so they begin to have their own lives. Jake leaves home and becomes a criminal. Way to go, Dad. You raised a hoodlum. Just the occasional purse theft and bike jacking here and there, but eventually evolves to a crime syndicate. Created by himself, his cohorts are Gareth, able to hypnotize people, and I definitely wouldn't leave your drink around him, the Flying Lettuce Brothers, able to imitate voices, and Tiffany. He can... Tiffany. And together they form an unnamed gang. They eventually disband when Jake falls in love with Card Wars, a holographic card game, and he became excellent at it. In the tournaments is where he met Moniker, his first girlfriend. It's also where he broke up with her after losing the championship to a guy named Grand Prix. To add insult to injury, Moniker and Grand Prix begin dating. Jake falls in love with Lady Rainicorn, of the Rainicorn species. The Rainicorns are from a place called the Crystal Dimension. Other inhabitants of that dimension are talking dogs, like Jake's species. The Rainicorns and dogs were at war for thousands of years, with ending only recently. Lady Rainicorn is the daughter of Bob and Ethel. Bob is a veteran of the war, being saved by a dog, thus loving the other species. Before Jake, Lady fell in love with a doggist, Lee. He still hates dogs so much that him and his gang attempt to trigger another war. They steal the crystal mergence of destruction from the doggy military. Lady stops this and escapes to Earth with the sandwich weapon thingy, and hides in a barn. Not long after, she meets Princess Bubblegum, and they develop a close bond. At some point, Jake begins dating her, learning the native Rainicorn language, Korean. Much later, he struggles to juggle hanging out with Finn versus Lady, so he hangs out with both at the same time, causing Finn and Lady to become best buds. Jake calls up Tiffany from his old gang to hang out with to make Finn and Lady jealous, but this backfires and Tiffany vows to kill Finn to reclaim his position as Jake's best friend. But Tiffany is scared off by Finn, at least momentarily. Lady wants her parents to meet Jake, but instead he invites them over early to get to know them. He stretches and pretends to be a Rainicorn in fear they may not like him due to the Rainicorn dog history. Bob reveals his war story and that he has an immense affinity for dogs. Jake has some interest in the arts. He writes a book under the pseudonym J.T. Dogzone called Mind Games that give false dating advice, and a newspaper column called Begs the Question. A squirrel, potentially named Stanley, is a little Mark David Chapman-y and follows Jake around wanting to be noticed, frothing at the mouth for a droplet of attention. And he does eventually try to kill him. Later on, he writes an article about Marceline and her band, giving her a boost in fame. He also plays the viola. His viola has a little worm named Shelby living inside of it. It's been fun, but Joshua and Margaret croak, and Finn and Jake bury them. They never reveal why they died. Jermaine takes over their house and takes care of all the demonic knickknacks. Like John Locke and the Button, he has to constantly reset a Teddy Ruxpin knockoff to keep a demon at bay. Mo sends off his precious little BMO into space to start a potato farm on Mars, but instead the plankton-looking service droid that has been decommissioned finds BMO in space and takes him to the Teddy Ruxpin knockoff to keep a demon at bay. Mo sends off his precious little BMO into space to start a potato farm on Mars, but instead the plankton-looking service droid that has been decommissioned finds BMO in space and takes him to the drift that is in a state of horrible ramshackle from Hugo constructing the Unity pod. Hugo has a new right-hand man, Mr. M, who is none other than Martin Mertens. He's just really fat now. He basically just gets on his knees for Hugo and sycophants his way into a spot on the pod. Once on the drift, BMO assumes the role of sheriff for the drift and befriends a bunny girl named Y4, quickly changing it
into a part of the movie or something.
BMO, being the iconoclast he is with Y5 and Seago, expose Hugo Gate to all the drift citizens that their leader Hugo has been destroying their home for his own escape. They launch the Unity pod into space with only Hugo on board, where he will suffer until the end of time, I assume. Did I mention that Hugo was immortal? The remaining drift citizens learn how to live with their limited resources to build the drift back to what it once was. BMO takes a large thing for his space travel and crash lands outside of Finn and Jake's treehouse. BMO befriends them and becomes their new roommate. Now Finn, Jake, BMO's reflection Football, who is slightly deranged, who may or may not be real and not BMO's imagination, Shelby, and a robot all live together in the treehouse. Said robot is Nepter, short for never-ending pie-throwing robot, created by Finn to perpetually throw pies at Jake. Nepter was accidentally turned sentient with lightning. Ice King zapped Nepter a second time,
didn't they leave him under the treehouse
potential,
forever?
But also giving Nepter princess capturing tendencies. So this also made him a half-son to Ice King. So I think I can say Finn and the Ice King share custody of a child, but Nepter stays with Finn. Their rarely appearing neighbor is Banana Man. Jake has a dream where he is in space and Banana Man is there, along with the Cosmic Owl. Jake believes he dies in this dream, assuming it to be a croak dream. But is it? No. but they don't know that yet. Banana Man, voiced by iconic Weird Al, is an astronaut and often works on repairing his ship. He's a freaky little dude, and by the end of the show, he's dating a fish named Sybil who works for President Porpoise, and I think he builds a life with her underwater, despite not being able to breathe down there. As for Finn's dad, Mr. M, he is floating around in space. We're missing a chapter of his story, but somewhere in there he commits a cosmic crime. The literal worst thing a being could do. He is imprisoned in a place called the Citadel, which is Alcatraz, but to the E10 power. It's a prison for the entire multiverse. It's so secure, it is in its own dimension. The prison cells are crystals, forcing the prisoner to be frozen in them, so they aren't really even conscious. Now, to the beginning of the show. Finn, now in his tween years, and Jake, no longer a criminal, are the greatest heroes in the land of Ooo, helping anybody and everybody in need. Princess Bubblegum often gives them quests to help her or one of her thousands of candy citizens. The Ice King, formerly Simon, is the loneliest man in existence. He has no clue who he once was, but still has a constant longing of meeting a princess, which was Betty to him, even though that was 1,000 years ago. Man, there is a lot of super centenarians. Ice King, Marceline, Princess Bubblegum, Hugo. Ice King is often the bad guy, stealing the princesses all over Ooo, leaving Finn and Jake to rescue them. All Ice King wants is to be loved and to have friends. He admires Finn and Jake so much and would do anything to be their friend. His methods of finding love and friends are just a little jacked up. Like, he can't help it. He accidentally hires the hitman Scorcher to slap Finn and Jake, not realizing what a hitman does. He truly is such a tragic character. Ice King lives in his ice kingdom that he has constructed for himself after he left Marceline. Hidden way beneath the depths of it is a frozen patient St. Pym, and Ice King's not even aware of her. He's not totally alone in his frozen fortress. He does have a lot of penguins, and one of them is Orgalorg in his condensed penguin form, who Ice King names Gunter, after the original Gunter having an effect on the crown. Gunter gives birth to a magic kitten. Try to make sense of that one. I guess I just blame Orgalorg. He also steals Ice King's demonic wishing eye, and he almost conquers the entire Candy Kingdom. Even though he doesn't know he's Orgalorg, his pre-nothingness monster energy is just so evil it makes his cuddly condensed form evil. But like, more of a subdued evil. Finn has a golden sword named Scarlet, and it's just a regular sword. But believe me, there is so much story dealing with his arsenal of future swords. It eventually becomes a 4D sword and is used to fight a black hole, sending it into the cotton candy forest, and it's never seen again. PB sends Finn and Jake on a true hero's journey to retrieve the Enchiridion. I've talked so much about it, finally let me explain, and prepare to be disappointed. They play it up like it's super important, and it is, but it's also kind of boring. It's just a spell book, and the hero's handbook. It teaches heroes how to be better at heroing and things like that. If all the gems of power are placed in it, it can open up dimensional portals, and really that's why it's super important and sought after. But that information isn't well known. Very few people know that, not even Finn. On this mission, Finn is put through many trials to prove he is the greatest hero, and worthy of the book. He has to fight a giant guy that ends up eating Jake, and subsequently barfs him up. As a wee lad, this guy always freaked me out. It was just the way he was animated, and the situation just sort of made me feel
I love the animation back.
He gets the book from the Keeper and Manish Man atop Mount Cragdor and keeps it in the treehouse. Last time the Enchiridion was seen, it was when Marcy went into hibernation, so somehow it got from her to Mount Cragdor. Finn and Jake go on a lot of adventures. Too many to count. So many across the episodes and comics and video games. This is basically a disclaimer. I'm not going to recount every one-off adventure because of time. Recounting every time an adventure took place is an adventure in and of itself, and would take too much time. Adventure time. So come on and grab your friends. Welp, I've gone crazy. Finn falls madly in love with PB, like, big time, but she constantly cucks him. Also, she claims to be 18, despite being 1,000, and is quite frankly too old for him. They encounter and almost kill this little jiggler guy that oozes pink juice. This episode also freaked me out a little bit.
I never really thought about that, because she was, like, supposed to be, like, 18, but she's, like, is it, like, candy age, like, you know, like dog years, candy years or something, is like different. I don't know.
I can't exactly say why. No? Maybe the staticky flashing lights and weird noise from the mother jiggler. Maybe I was just a wussy little kid.
No, that freaked me out.
They discover Donnie, who bullies house people and is an overall jerk. But this is crucial for the house people's survival, as his jerkiness produces obnoxygen, protecting them from Y-wolves. Finn obtains the armor of Zeldron, the armor Simon once looked for long ago. Frozen human businessmen wash ashore and thaw, becoming servants to Finn and Jake, and then becoming unservants to Finn and Jake. They eventually become an issue, so Finn and Jake refreeze them. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because they were a couple of humans frozen from the Great Mushroom War. Finn believes he's the only human left and doesn't seem fazed that he's now found more of his species. What a fool.
I didn't know they was human. I thought they was like just zombies or something.
The two current greatest heroes eventually meet the past greatest hero, Billy. They find his sword, which leads to Billy's cave, fittingly called Billy's Crack, which was once owned by Marcy. He's now a whiny baby for not actually defeating the Lich, only freezing him. Finn and Jake are awestruck to be in Billy's presence with all of his legends preceding him. Billy convinces them to be pacifists, just further projecting his failure. This really hinders Finn and proves to Billy that violence is the only way. Not sure what kind of message it was trying to pass on to the kids watching, but hey, Finn's not wrong, right? They also bring Billy a girlfriend, a little old lady. Later, they go through a labyrinth with the promise of a wish granter in the middle. Jake stretches to his absolute limit, ergo, he dies, after wasting his wish on a sandwich. Almost, he doesn't quite die. Finn and Jake were raving about a mystical and powerful creature called the Ancient Psychic Tandem War Elephant. This being existed long, long ago, but he doesn't have a known origin. At the center of the maze, Finn wishes for the elephant to exist, and poof, he's there. In order to use him, you have to let him take control, or something like that. I'm not too sure on that one. Either way, he wishes for Jake to be okay, and they keep the elephant at the treehouse. Speaking of elephant, Finn and Jake have become good friends with Tree Trunks, and loves her apple pies. She tells them of a rare crystal gem apple, and the three of them adventure to find it. When they do, Tree Trunks takes a bite, and
yeah, I need to rewatch this, bro.
They think she died. Since she consumed the apple, she became Quartzion, the Crystal Queen of the Crystal Dimension, the same place the Rainicorns live. She summons her crystal men to crystallize Finn so he can be her lover. Okay. They make Tree Trunks throw up the apple, and she is restored to her normal self. And that was the end of that. After that, Finn and Jake die. I'm sorry to say, but it's true. They meet death. PB has them watch over her plant, and of course they kill it. They receive help from Peppermint Butler, and he sends them to the land of the dead to retrieve the flower's soul. Jake gets poo brain briefly, but Finn negotiates with Death to resurrect the flower after simply saying they know Peppermint Butler. Ice King's lust for princesses runs so deep that when he accidentally turns his heart sentient, it leaps out of him, with the desire to rip out PB's heart so he could, quote, make out with it. His heart's name is Ricardio, for some reason. And since he left Ice King, he essentially can't do anything to help F and J because he's basically dead and enervated. But he manages to survive his entire way to Candy Kingdom. I guess it's the crown. Now you want to talk about creepy episodes? This was the scariest. It's still kinda unnerving.
It was kinda.
The overly animated faces and the entire helplessness of the situation, that this heart basically took out the Ice King, one of the most powerful dudes in OO. How are Finn and Jake supposed to beat him? At the end, when Finn mushes Ricardio down to a beanbag that's lost all of its beans, it's just so...
that's what I'd be feeling like after. Never mind.
Ice King takes his heart back, with Ricardio promising to return. I hate and love this episode so much. They go to the Goblin Kingdom, home to the salacious Zergiak, ruler of the goblins, unable to stop himself from spanking his people. He loves it so much.
He just like me for real.
He loves it with every ounce of his body. F and J depose him, and Finn is crowned ruler, but he denies it and replaces Finn with Whisper Dan, some kind of robot servant. He also can't speak, and is a good boy. Later, Finn and Jake are ordered by PB to find the Great Birdman, and to their surprise, it's Zergiak, who went blind but doesn't realize his eyes are in his beard. He did a complete 180. He's selfless and raises birds now. Finn and Jake decide to restore his sight, but really just handed him the bottle again, and instantly wants to go back and overthrow the Goblin Kingdom to spank some more. But the birds leave him for this. He goes home, takes out his own eyes, and then tries to permanently float down the river. But that'd be too dark for a kid's show, so he is awarded with the love of a mermaid. Finn wears Jake sometimes, called Jake Suit. I just wanted to add that because they do it a lot, and it's really cool. Also really weird. Finn and Jake finally meet everyone's favorite vampire queen, Marceline. She shows up and kicks them out of the treehouse because legally she still owns it. They sort of acquiesce, but quickly protest when she kicks them out of their new cave home that she also owns, because not everyone is lucky enough to be immortal. Finn hits her, so she lets them move back into the treehouse, and she builds a home in the cave. When Finn and Jake return home, they encounter King Worm, a hypnotic worm who's not important yet. They ultimately become friends with Marceline, and what do friends do? They help each other out. Well, so I hear. I don't have any. Finn learns about Marceline's Fry story, so he summons Hunt and Abadir to OO so they can patch things up. Perhaps wasn't the best move on Finn's part for summoning the literal devil, but it worked. After 1,000 years and singing the Fry song to him, Hunson learns he hurt her, and their relationship starts to heal and mend. Finn promptly sends him back to the Nightosphere though, because he sucked the souls out of a lot of creatures on his brief trip. They eventually learn about the Ice King and Marceline's long history through Marceline telling the stories herself and through finding Ice King's video diaries, which are of his current hopeless self and his past Simon self, giving Finn and Jake more of an insight into his story and how he was once brilliant. Ice King doesn't comprehend that he was once Simon. Even trying to teach him, his brain just seems to be incapable of taking in that information. Marceline struggles with this as well, as she's witnessing her only true father figure suffer with insanity and not even knowing who she is. Her old boyfriend Ash returns disguised as a wizard and puts Marceline under a sleep spell. Still disguised, Ash has Finn and Jake go into her memory to awaken her, but in this act of chicanery, what they were told to remove was the memory of their breakup and him selling Hambo. Now with the memory gone, Marceline acts like nothing ever happened, and he is allowed to continue his misogyny. Finn takes Marceline inside his mind, which viewed her original memory, restoring it for her. She dumps Ash again, and later he is arrested for everything he just did. Marceline invites Finn and Jake over to play some tunes in the Nightosphere, since her and Hunson's relationship is mostly good. He wants her to take on the family business, that being ruler of the Nightosphere. I don't know how much you would consider that a business. Nightosphere LLC, where a kid can be a kid. He deceives Marceline into putting on the amulet that turns you into a horrific monster and the ruler. She knocks Finn and Jake into Amnesia Town, and they have to figure out why they're in the Nightosphere, and subsequently, how to save Marceline. It ends with Senor Abadir finally realizing it's not a phase, Dad, and she wants to be a rock star, not Satan. So he introduces some laissez-faire policies into his parenting, and we don't see him much anymore. Right before they left the Nightosphere, they accidentally started a coup against Hansen, so hope that all works out well for him. Finn and Jake encounter a tree witch requesting princess hair, and if she doesn't receive it, Jake will be sucked up her butthole forever. Finn finds LSP, who now lives in the forests of Ooh after tensions with her parents, but she doesn't have adequate hair. Finn solves the issue by giving the tree witch his long luscious locks hiding underneath that white hat, and Jake is saved from her encompassing crusty poop chute. Now that Magic Man has been sentenced to Earth, he resumes his Mars behavior, being a jerk. Pretending to be homeless, Finn gives him some sugar, and so Magic Man turns him into a giant foot. I mean, seems like a fair trade to me. He finds more of Magic Man's victims, and together they unite and don't stop him. He relentlessly abuses Ooh people, one time inducing Jake into a dream. He enters a world in his own body, made of his body, sort of like his father Warren Ampersand is able to do. Most of the people are voiced by Billy West, one of my personal favorite voice actors. But beside the point, he basically uses the voices of Fry, Farnsworth, and Zap Brannigan from Futurama for the Jake people. Did Jake watch Futurama one night and that somehow manifested into his subconscious? Or did he transport to New York? The voice of Fry is used for Goose, Jake's supposed best friend. Jake's voice actor is John DiMaggio, also the voice of Bender in Futurama, Fry's best friend. Goose hasn't seen Jake in about 2 years, and the finale of Futurama was aired a little over a year before this. Doesn't quite math, but But the other voices in Futurama correspond to characters in the Jake world, like Professor Farnsworth sharing the voice with another Professor character. Goose also bends bars like Bender often did. This is likely just fun references, because Futurama and Adventure Time don't exist in the same reality.
What time is it?
That's for later. When he went into this dream, he fell asleep on an empty stomach. Every time his gut rumbled, it was tectonic for their city. Jake had to eventually eat, killing all of them by waking up. Usually there's a aside for a certain type of killing, but a whole town you created? I don't think that exists. Stumbling through the destroyed taffy tree forest PB's uncle Gumbald cut down a long time ago. A stump isn't a stump, and it's a steel hatch leading to the Human tribe. They meet Kara, but now taking on the name Susan. Also, she speaks caveman. They bring Susan to the surface and have her touch some grass. The Humans almost eat the Candy Kingdom, so they almost immolate them. Finn learns of their fishy nature, but Susan really is a human. They later enlist Finn and Jake to reclaim Butopia from the Lub Glubs, and then Finn learns he finally isn't the only human. Too bad she's an Amazonian, unless that's what Finn wants. Princess Bubblegum finally teaches Finn and Jake about the Lich, taking them
creeped me out. He creeped me out with this form.
To his amber tomb. They must wear gems of power as to not be possessed, but a snail who is always just around everywhere all the time was in Finn's backpack. The Lich possesses this snail and escapes. The snail releases the Lich and he heads for his well of power. PB bestows Billy's gauntlet to Finn, the only known weapon able to defeat him. She also gives Finn a sweater she knitted because, I don't know, it's a type of armor. Plot armor. Finn fights the Lich. Now, which weapon do you think defeated him? The super powerful weapon used by the greatest hero Ooh has ever seen, or a sweater? Ding ding ding! Sweater. I mean, it's cool what he does. It's actually really cool.
No.
And then the Lich
crazy.
dies. Spoiler alert.
He was like,
it's impossible for the Lich to die. Ice King, who kidnapped PB, flies to the Well of Power, beseeching Finn's blessing to marry her, and accidentally drops her into the well, and PB dies. Haha. No. But
that made me so hot.
She becomes possessed by the Lich, thanks to the Ice King for pointing it out with his wizard eyes. Together, Finn, Jake, and the Ice King kill Princess Bubblegum and the Lich. But, spoiler alert, the Lich can't die. So he repossesses the snail and skedaddles. They reconstruct PB, but there isn't enough candy. Even though they're in the Candy Kingdom, she is rebuilt into a 13-year-old girl, still retaining her mental strength. But her age is unacceptable. According to Candy Kingdom law, the Earl of Lemongrab returns and is bequeathed the princess role, becoming a true dictator. Everyone is imprisoned, so the candy people mutilate themselves and amalgamate the pieces into PB. Coupled with a kiss from Finn, and bam, she's 18 again. Okay, sure, buddy. They do live in the Candy Kingdom. Why didn't they just do that before? Whatever. Lemongrab is deposed. She makes a new replacement heir, being Goliad, a brilliant sphinx manufactured with PB's own DNA. Goliad also sucks as a leader, and just like Lemongrab, abuses the candy people. PB creates another sphinx, Stormo, this time with Finn's DNA, so it will take care of Goliad. Goliad and Stormo psychically fight and end up in an impasse for years. Going back to our favorite cosmic entity, Prismo the Goon Master. He thinks Finn and Jake are the coolest mofos around, and so he wants to create his own story like theirs. Instead of writing weird fan fiction like most, he creates a literal dimension. That's a big no-no. Massive violation of his powers, and he broke the rules of the multiverse. In this universe, all the characters are gender swapped. Finn is Fiona, Jake the dog is now Cake the cat, Princess Bubblegum is Prince Gumball, Ice King is Ice Queen, Marceline is Marshall Lee, Lady Rainicorn is Lord Monochromacorn, Lumpy Space Princess is Lumpy Space Prince, Cinnamon Bun is Cinnamon Bun in a dress. You get the idea. To hide his abomination, at least in the eyes of cosmic law, he beams the dimension to a deep, dark, lonely place where it will never be found, inside the Ice King's head. So no cosmic auditors like Scarab can ever find it. Ice King believes that they are real. I know that the adventures of Fiona
I thought it was just
and
his
spreads
dream.
his belief to be fanfiction to all of Ooh, including Finn and Jake. Ice King tries to find a way to prove their existence multiple times. Prismo continues to update his story and continues to beam them into Ice King's dome. One night when he beams them, a bunny human lady intercepts some of the signals and records it onto a VHS. She dresses up as Fiona, going to the Ice King with VHS proof saying she's the real Fiona. Ice King figures out she's just a vagrant needing a place to stay, but now Ice King has something tangible of Fiona and Jake. Real footage of them, proving he's not as crazy as he thinks. Or maybe he does prove he's as crazy as he thinks. I mean, I guess it depends on how crazy he thinks he is. We have two stories of love happening around the same time. One's hot, and one's really hot. Finn and the Flame Princess, and Tree Trunks and Mr. Pig. You can interpret that how you want. The titillating Tree Trunks falls in love with Mr. Pig, just an overall pretty mundane dude. The two will eventually get married, being officiated by the King of Ooh, which almost severs Tree Trunks and PB's relationship, even though she saved them from a wicked slave contract the King of Ooh was going to put them in. Finn is a whiny baby. Wah wah, nobody loves me. Wah wah. The girl that is 76.92 times my age denies me.
Not too much.
Jake pretends to be a baron, and along with the help of Flambeau, Jake is granted an audience with the Flame King to arrange Finn with FP. Jake finds out she's evil, according to her father. So Jake puts a halt to their meeting real fast, making FP unstable like PB once warned. Finn and FP meet and play a bunch of mind games with each other. They are both a bunch of whiny teens. FP finally agrees to date him after seeing his whiny baby tears, thinking he is her opposite, a water elemental. PB finds out about the relationship and tries to stop it, and she doesn't really seem to have any issues with FP dying if need be. If Finn and FP kiss, she will destabilize. Crazy. And what's the opposite of destabilize? Stabilized. That's what we want.
What's up with the out of nowhere sounds? I think you scared me last episode.
What's the opposite of stabilized? Destabilized. And that's what she will be after she kisses Finn. They spiral into the earth, almost killing both of them. Jake deprives their burrow hole of oxygen, extinguishing FP 99% of the way, making her stabilized again. Back in the Candy Kingdom, the entity that has been there for like, I don't know, in Rome around M years, the Mother Gum under the kingdom is finally getting an update. It's been in the dungeon for so long, it's become one with the building, weakening its structure, letting prisoners escape. After investigation, the Mother Gum must be fought and it's broken into itty-bitty pieces. So, R.I.P.? Back at Castle Lemongrab, in the Earldom of Lemongrab, Lemongrab has no one to watch over, so Lemongrab comes to the kingdom and spies on the candy people, lurking in the shadows late at night. The banana guards find him on PB's mega security systems.
That's creepy.
The Pup Gang, a trio of candy hooligans, volunteer to be Lemongrab denizens, but he's abusive. Real abusive. And they find out when they're put in electricity chambers. They rescue them, and while she's there, PB creates Lemongrab 2, a near clone of Lemongrab. Together, they can rule the Earldom. Princess Bubblegum makes a grave error and leaves behind her recipe for creating life. Together, the Lemongrabs create life for their kingdom. Instead of eating their food, the Lemongrabs keep creating new lemon creatures. A bunch of inbred lemon mortys that scream at frequencies old people probably can't hear. They're like addicted to it. Their most sizable is Lemon John. He's so massive his body takes up different rooms in the castle, making it sort of like armor or a shell. The lemons request more food from the Candy Kingdom because their earldom is just a bunch of starving lemons that produce an agonizing cacophony of groans, moans, and death cries. When Finn and Jake deliver the food, they discover the atrocity. Thus, the Lemongrabs launch a full-on Lemon John attack on the Candy Kingdom for their food. Finn and Jake kill Lemon John, but then revive him, only for him to go out nobly and sacrifice himself for food, for the lemon people. I think it's cannibalism, but we'll find out very soon. Lemongrab has no issue with that. PB erases the creature creation formula from both Lemongrab's minds, and the earldom is restored. Until it isn't. A simple disagreement leads to the first Lemongrab eating half of the second Lemongrab's head. The first Lemongrab moves to Obese City, population him, and the second goes to Scrawny Town, all shriveled up and confined to a UFO hover disk. Their dual rule quickly becomes autocratic once more. Finn and PB go to the earldom and discover a boy named Lemon Hope, different from all the lemon freaks. He's like actually kinda normal. He also plays the harp, which is slightly less normal. I've never met someone that can play the harp. Not that it's weird, it's just I don't think many people can play the harp, making it not that normal. PB wants to take Lemon Hope out of this unacceptable echo chamber, but Fat Lemongrab precludes it. Lemongrab 2 does allow him to leave, leading to Lemongrab 1 fully consuming Lemongrab 2. A bunch of the lemon people help Finn, PB, and Lemon Hope escape the earldom. Lemongrab enacts new policies that anyone that helps Lemon Hope or tries to leave the earldom will be consumed. Bubblegum instructs Lemon Hope that it is his duty to one day liberate the earldom, but my boy wants his freedom and says, screw the lemon guys, let him suffer, and then embarks on a really long quest experiencing the harsh realities of freedom. Almost dying, on his adventure, he sleeps with a blanket made of rats. How warm and disease-ridden. He almost dies, and then he encounters Flannel Boxing Day, presumably PB in disguise. And Lemon Hope actually really enjoys this life and doesn't care about the lemons much at all. He is, though, having a recurring nightmare about them, and only decides to rescue them to make the nightmare stop. Not because he feels indebted for the sacrifice of assisting his escape. This really is a lesson about the grass is greener on the other side. I don't think it's a valuable lesson, but it is a lesson. Lemongrab is now more obese than, yo mom, eating all the lemon people who defect. Lemon Hope returns and plays his angelic music for Lemongrab, which would kill him, but earplugs prevent this. Half-digested Lemongrab 2 reaches through his gullet and pulls them out, exploding Lemongrab and subsequently killing Lemongrab 2. I've heard of hardcore music fans, but dang. The lemons are free from all rule. Hopefully they can make a democracy or something. Wait, whoa. Bubblegum, what are you doing? Oh, I see. Frankensteining Lemongrab 1 and 2 together, making Lemongrab 3, changing up his brain a little, and just hoping it actually goes well for what? How many chances is it now? Lemon Hope, with all of his duties relinquished, dips. PB wanted him to thrive and succeed in the worst way possible. She wanted him to rule the earldom, but nah, he's just living life, chilling. He promises to return to the earldom in 1,000 years, but in the meantime, he's going to explore for that millennium. Lemongrab 3 is now boring. Finally, he's a little euthanized, a little castrated, a little plain, but that's fine. He does become depressed, though, and thinks about joining Matthew, a collective consciousness waiting to restore balance after the prophesied second age of terror caused by the pre-nothingness monster Kokentepe. I don't know. Sounds a little culty to me. Lemongrab 3 instead destroys Matthew, unleashing the separate consciousness and this makes him feel a little better, I think. He'd select this one on the happy scale. There's a relatively brief lich encounter. We're picking up with that possessed snail that escaped. It manages to resummon the lich back in Ooh. The lich uses something called the Bag of Holding, aka your mother, because it can fit everything inside of it no matter what size. He's able to pull all main characters inside along with the entire Candy Kingdom. Finn and Jake defeat the lich and toss him into the sun. The ending is sorta... yeah... Comics aren't necessarily canon all the time, more of a secondary canon. Basically, they are canon until something in the show contradicts it. So yeah, I guess the Lich died, but he didn't yet in the show. So... this story exists. Maybe it's an alternate timeline. Also in this comic, it's confirmed that Finn and Jake recorded the intro for the show. Maybe canon, maybe not. They don't know that they're in a show, but it's their footage in the beginning. Finn and Jake venture out into the world and come across Bizarro Ooh, where Adventure Tim, a juxtaposition of Finn and Jake together, is the hero of the land. He lives with his robot ALN, or Alm, and rescues Princess Chewy Pace from the Mice King. Adventure Tim appears a few times after this. PB creates a time machine that teleports your mind into your body 15 years into the future. BMO, meanwhile, tweaks and alters his Finn and Jake robots he's been making for some totally rational reason. And also, they're evil. This starts a robot race and a really long battle. Finn and Jake use the time machine and skip forward 15 years. Finn and Jake are amazed at their bodies and find out about the robo battle. Still ongoing. Their current bods are battle-torn from fighting all of the bots, but they haven't experienced any of it. Either way, what is started with time travel usually is fixed with time travel in 99% of time travel stories, and this is no different. Future Them sends a time machine back so they can fix the current timeline. Through their time travel, they somehow end up in the original pilot for Adventure Time. Technically, I don't think that should be able to be canon, but...
that's the pilot.
Now it can be. The future Finn and Jake actually remember the pilot. In the pilot, before Finn was called Finn, he was called Pen. And the way they canonically explain that is future Finn says he loved Pen so much back then that he had people call him Pen. Jake also grabs Pen's sleeping bag, giving canonical reason to an animation error. Anyway, they time travel and they fix the timeline, erasing the robot timeline. Nemonoid, a weird brain man, feeds on stories, so he begins sucking memories from Finn. Finn eventually wakes up and realizes he's 55 years into the future, half a century taken from him. Every time a new memory was made, Nemonoid ate it. He realized time was passing by him on a few occasions in prior decades, but it would make this story non-canon, so ignore that portion. But of all things he remembers, of all things, it's conveniently the thing that gets him out of this mess. He remembers how the time machine was made previously, traveling back to before Nemonoid started juicing up his brains, and instead puts Nemonoid onto LSP, making her bear that burden. But she's such a yapper, it's an endless food supply, and doesn't cause her any memory loss. Totally, definitely, for the final time, for sure, I'm willing to bet on it, Ricardio returns. Ice King is lazy. He doesn't want to go princess snapping, so Ricardio turns his insides into a race car track and leaps out. Ice King and Ricardio wish on the demonic wishing eye, and Ice King tricks Ricardio, sending him away forever. Totally. Ricardio is sent to an LSCSU, a lumpy space creature storage unit. He doesn't know where he is, but finds a diary belonging to LSP. He meets a fly that was just born in there, and together they try to escape, but the fly settles down, grows old, and dies, all within like a day. Ricardio mourns his death, but LSP shows up. She's in love with him, that's weird, but he only wants her body, specifically her heart, which I don't even know if she has. So in an act of kindness, she instead gives him undue eye drops for the demonic wishing eye. Meanwhile, Ice King is also unhappy because without Ricardio, his lust for princesses has stopped, and he's peaceful now. But he doesn't favor ice cream anymore, also probably because of him, maybe, I don't get that. So their missing each other is amicable, and Ricardio returns. It's revealed that the 75-issue comic series is actually BMO retelling events to some kids, so that could explain why certain events like the first Lich defeat is wacky and why other things are questionably canon, Grob Gob Glob Grodd travels to Earth in search of his brother, Magic Man, to send him to his execution, because now he's just been terrorizing Ooh for hundreds of years, when it was supposed to be a punishment. Magic Man switches bodies with Jake, so Glob brings Jake in Magic Man's body back to Mars. His trial commences and Magic Man is sentenced to death. Glob uses the Wand of Disbursement, an artifact Simon once looked for, and kills Jake. It's revealed that it was really Jake, so Abraham Lincoln goes to death and trades his immortality for Jake's life. Apparently, this was also prophecy that Abraham Lincoln would meet Jake one day. In doing this, Abraham Lincoln dies, making his original death his true death. Finn and Jake return and Magic Man is unperturbed. After this, Grob Gob Glob Grodd usurps the position as the ruler of Mars. A chunk of time later, Finn and Jake suddenly go missing, and remains that way for 3 weeks. Finally, PB and Lady Rainicorn track them down. They believed Ice King was behind this, and he was. Well, partially. Ricardio returns, escaping from Ice King and making new limbs from Ice King's living tissue, breaking and reforming his bones to construct a new body. No longer wanting just PB's heart, but in his words, the whole package. But he definitely still has his eerie, overly animated face. PB rips his new body up and reconstructs Ice King a new heart, getting rid of Ricardio permanently, for now. Nah, it's basically permanent. It's not. While they're all in recovery from this mission, Lady Rainicorn announces there is in fact multiple buns in her oven. After her and Jake, you can't see me, but I'm using finger quotes, had a really good time on the swan ride in the theme park Thrashland. There's a bear that suddenly wants to hang out with Finn, Jake, and all of their friends. The bear comes home to the treehouse and starts imitating Finn, dressing up like him, pretending to be a warrior, and even learning to speak English. They are perturbed by this, but eventually conclude he just wants to be cool, liked, and most importantly, a hero like Finn. So what does Finn do? Gives him the Hero's Handbook, one of the most powerful objects in Ooh, the Enchiridion, so the illiterate bear can read it. His altruism will be the death of him, because the bear is working for the lich-possessed snail. Now it sounds like a fairy tale. The snail and bear head to Billy's crack. The lich reads the Enchiridion, gaining his physical body back, and then brutally kills Billy. Yes, actually kills Billy. He killy Billy, but he doesn't get 2 volumes to explain it. Once the greatest hero in the land, Billy is now gone. Not only does he kill him, but he takes his body, at least his skin. I think the lich may have taken it a little too personally when he got beat the first time. King Worm from before returns and puts Finn into an endless dream where he sees multiple premonitions, one being the lich. He is able to defeat King Worm in his dream, which rids the treehouse of him in real life. But now Finn has a regular premonition dream about Billy. So in the middle of the night, him and Jake go to check on him. Finn explains his dream to Billy's skin-suited lich, and quote-unquote Billy requests Finn and Jake's help in getting all of the gems of power to stop the lich. Without hesitation, they agree and steal all of the gems of power. Outside the Candy Kingdom, Finn is running with PB's gem when the Gumball Guardians detect the lich in the vicinity and blast half his face off, revealing it to really be the lich. But too late, he has the gems of power. He puts them in the Enchiridion, turning it to stone, and so Finn destroys it. And whoops, that opened a dimensional portal to the time room. The lich enters and Finn and Jake quickly follow. Now finally, in the time room, the coolest place you can be. The lich gets one wish from Prismo. Now you don't have to be on a game show to get this answer. What do you think the embodiment of evil wished for? Now, you're not gonna get multiple choice, but go ahead, leave a comment. You done making the comment? Alright, good. The extermination of all life. Yeah. Prismo can't deny it, so bam, it's done. The lich gets his wish and is teleported.
I seen this clip from Twitter. This made me kind of like sad for the lich on the low.
To his new dimension where every living thing instantly turned to bone, with the exception of robots, because technically they're not living. Finn and Jake aren't affected because they're in the time room. Prismo explains the sitch, and Finn, without tons of thought, wishes for the lich to have never existed, and so he is sent to his wish's reality, leaving Jake in the time room. Ladies and gentlemen, it's official. We have now reached the point in our timeline, or now I should say timelines, where we're actually getting into the multiverse. This new world is called the Farm World dimension. Let's go back, way back. This dimension has a different history than the regular one. Simon Petrikov meets a young girl named Marceline. The world was in a good state, no mushroom war had happened yet, no liches becoming corporeal, it was mostly good. But
No
Simon
magic.
still had the crown, but wasn't fully insane yet. When the mushroom bomb was launched, Simon used his ice powers to prevent it from detonating, but as he kept it at bay, it killed him. Marceline never turned into a vampire, but was still half demon, so she stayed by his side even after death. The crown mourned its owner and sent the world into a new ice age. The Blue Catalyst comet that brought the embodiment of good agent of change, which would ultimately end up as Finn, never hit Earth. Now 1,000 years after Simon's death, a pointy-nosed Finn that isn't good incarnate lives with his human parents and regular dog Jake. Doo-doo heads called the Destiny Gang rule over his town and take advantage of everyone. Finn's father owes the Destiny Gang money, so they are forced to sell his mule Bartram. On this trek to the town, he finds a super old Marceline, still living but not youthful because she's vampless. She tells Finn the story of how it went, but Finn just wants the crown to sell. Finn steals the crown, uses it on the Destiny Gang. One thing leads to another. The mutagenic bomb explodes, killing Marceline and releasing the Lich into this world. The Lich possesses the boring Jake and becomes a buff dog hybrid. So Finn just nullified his wish, even though this farm world Finn isn't the Ooh Finn. Now he's the new owner of Evergreen's crown. In the time room, Jake is unable to think of a wish. The Cosmic Owl is now there as well, and they all just watch what's going on in Farm World on Prismo's TV wall. Jake wishes for a sandwich. Second time he's done that in a super serious situation, but this time's definitely a little more serious. Since Prismo really likes Jake, he basically holds his hand with his wish and warns him they are monkey's paw tricks. So Jake wishes to change the Lich's wish. So Jake, really Prismo, wishes to change the Lich's wish to sending Finn and Jake back to Ooh. So time is undone to when Finn and Jake first arrive in the time room. Finn and Jake witness the Lich make his wish. The Lich is unable to control what he says and wishes Finn and Jake back to Ooh. The Lich, wasting his one and only wish, is stuck harmless in the time room, so he just gives up for now and waits. They return to Ooh and Finn has no memory of Farm World. The gems go back to their owners, but now the Enchiridion is gone. Jake touts that he saved everybody, but had Prismo not nudged him, well, even that's being generous, Jake would have foiled everyone's existence for a sandwich. The Farm World dimension and the Lich's extermination dimension, both created by their wishes, still exist despite rewriting history with Jake's wish. Prismo even makes note that it's weird that they still exist. Prismo sends down a jar of his famous pickles for Jake with a note, inviting him to hang out some other time. Now with everything chill, Lady Rainicorn gives birth to partially Rainicorn, partially dog, and partially shapeshifter puppies. Charlie, Viola, TV, Kim Kil-Wan, and Jake Jr., which is a girl by the way. Jake stringently follows his mother's hologram guides, but his own children teach him those are bunk. Because of their wacky DNA, by the end of the first day or so, his kids are already magical and technically older than him. So Jake can continue living with Finn and never really matures.
I'm glad
and
they did
it shows, because he becomes an absent father, never seeing his children. I mean, he makes up for it, but I kinda think that hurt Jake's character. Imbuing them with such powerful genetics, their children and future grandchildren will become the supreme species in Ooh. Each of them go on to do really impressive, well, mostly impressive things. Charlie becomes an experienced tarot reader and plays Card Wars with her dad, where they face off against Grand Prix and Moniker and lose. She does a rare turbo-boosted personal reading, seeing into her future, where she sees Jake choke on a sandwich in her 20s, and she has a child in her 30s naming him Gibbon. She sees herself age and becomes more content with it as she ages. Viola becomes an actress in LSP's play. TV lives his life on his computer and still lives with his mother. Doesn't sound familiar. He discovers and eats the crystal mergence of destruction Lady hid away many years ago after fleeing the crystal dimension. Her old boyfriend Lee is in Ooh, for some reason, and Dog naps TV back to the crystal dimension where he plans on retrieving it from TV's stomach. Lady rescues him and takes back the crystal sandwich. TV decides to stay in that dimension for independence reasons, quickly rescinding that and living with Bob and Ethel. Kim Kil-Wan is the most successful of the litter. Also, he's really unpleasant. He establishes KKW Enterprises, a real estate business. He gets married and has a child, Bronwyn. To try to make his own father mature, he buys the deed to the treehouse from Marceline and rents it out to people. The point was for Jake to get a real job, but he just gives up. So Kim Kil-Wan accepts defeat and gifts them the treehouse deed. He also scooped up Joshua and Margaret's investigations office, but later sells that to TV to create his own investigation business. Jake's granddaughter, Bronwyn, embraces the skater culture, which her stiff father isn't all too thrilled about. Kim Kil-Wan, doing something he'd never do, gets his father's help to adjust Bronwyn's focus. But they're two peas in a pod, resulting in Kim Kil-Wan giving up again and letting her be her. Jake Jr. eventually reconnects with Jake's old gang and stages a kidnapping to get him to steal the Baker's Shard deep within the Candy Kingdom. Jake steals the expensive jewel and exposes Jake Jr.'s scheme. It was to impress her father, but honestly, I think it's because she wanted to get revenge for being named Jake Jr. Each pup is given a number 1 through 5, and then Bronwyn becomes number 6, and Gibbon much later is 7. This numbering convention will continue for a long time. Finn is getting in his head about his so far successful relationship with Flame Princess. I was going to make fun of him. He's 13 and all worried about his playdate girlfriend, but I do kind of forget she might as well be a deity with her powers, so I guess it's justified. Jake suggests he's overthinking things, so Finn climbs inside of a pillow fort where he lives a brand new life. I think this is the ooh version of an ayahuasca retreat. Like most teenage boys, he gets a pillow wife, Rosa Linen, and like some teenage boys, has pillow kids, Jay and Bonnie. And then he lives for decades in this pillow world. He grows so old he forgets what Jake looks like, and finally he dies, surrounded by his pillow kin. Finn hurtles towards Golb, seeing him for the first time, but instead of being eaten by him, he bounces off his tongue and back into the treehouse pillow fort in normal world. Was this all a dream, or was it real? Is it future events yet to come? I don't know, but there isn't much levity in this episode, and it's sort of a mind trip. I don't really know if I'm understanding the significance of this pillow life or not, but bottom line, it clears his head of faux relationship problems. Finn then actually has a real dream after seeing Flame Princess and Ice King fight. His dreams have the cosmic owl, making it a premonition dream. The dreams are about Flame Princess, but he doesn't get the full message of the dream. So under Jake's guidance, Finn tries to keep repeating the day, falsifying a rivalry between Phoebe and Simon. The prophecy was, "You blew it," leading to their full breakup after Finn admits he caused the fighting, and now Ice King is homeless, so he bunks in the treehouse, which is bunk. Miss Dictator herself, PB, requests FP to be a test subject to fix her unstable emotional powers. PB is forced to leave, and Cinnamon Bun is left in charge. The well-known Candy Numbnuts lets her out of the testing, despite PB strictly demanding, "Do not let her out." You see the thing right here? Cinnamon Bun blows this, leaking to FP that PB was the one that demanded her father lock her up. And what sound does a baby make? It's 3 letters. Coup. And that's what FP and CB stage. She overthrows her father, imprisoning him into that same lantern, and she becomes king of the Fire Kingdom, fulfilling the prophecy that she would become more powerful than her father. With such bad trust issues, she signs into law the best piece of legislature any place could have, prohibiting lying. Anyone who lies will be committing an illegal act. She flips the script on the Flame Kingdom, ruling with a kind heart. Cinnamon Bun now has disdain for the Candy Kingdom and becomes her Baron, or Earl, Viscount maybe. He's her protector. Flame King made secret arrangements with Donkey Dude Don John to overthrow the kingdom for FP's hand in marriage. Don't mind that she's like 15, and Donkey Man is like more than that. Don John coups it up, and Flame King becomes ruler once more. She recruited Finn to help coup back her coup, but they get locked up, leaving the quote-unquote half-baked Cinnamon Bun to rescue them. He gets a gnarly fireball straight upside the face, changing his poo brain DNA to not poo brain DNA. Now he's fully baked and a highly functioning member of society. Don John is upset his princess reward doesn't want him, so he wants a refund, leading to both Flame King's and Don John's arrest, reinstating FP and CB as king and noble knight. They rule really successfully, and the Fire Kingdom becomes, once again, not a half-bad place. Quite a while later, through a camera PB shoved into CB's face, she is made aware of the sleeping fire giants, robots made by Mo, who purportedly founded the Flame Kingdom, but now they're just snoozing. PB has the Ice King freeze the core of the kingdom, so it slowly loses power and people become weak. PB glad handles her way in there and slowly steals the power from the giants, as she believes they're a danger to all of Ooh in the wrong hands. PB is caught in a seminal display of her authoritarian behavior, so PB and FP duke it out in the FK, where the SFG rest. All but one SFG is destroyed, and FP declares PB is corrupted with power. PB calls off IK and lets FP keep the remaining SFG, revitalizing the FK, and says SRY to the FP, and then PB GTG. And then she goes home and rethinks her behavior. Mathematical. Finn plunges into another depression. Oh, the melancholy. I don't think he's thought about the logistics of an FP relationship. They could barely kiss. How were they gonna...
Facts.
He begins having nightmares about a ghost he saw a few years ago in the Bathboy Gang mansion when he staged a murder mystery for Jake. The ghost is Shoko, his past life, and her connection to the Bathboy Gang is why she was there. And now he begins seeing her in the treehouse, which is her, technically, also technically him. I think. He claims his mind puts all the stuff that's too difficult to handle in his mental vault, like a trauma chamber or a PTSD prison. He explores his vault and somehow sees his past life Shoko in her story, and her soul cannot be free until the amulet still on her corpse is given back to PB. Finn does this, freeing Shoko, but if Finn is Shoko, why does she have a soul? The soul is the Catalyst Comet, no? Right? I'm the one that's supposed to be telling you stuff, but that doesn't make much sense to me. The new roommate, Ice King, does what I like to do in my free time and summons Keoth the demon, and he regains his blood, destroying the blood sword gifted to Finn by Joshua. Jake is put through arduous waiting in Keoth's pit in the broken up dimension, thinking he is Joshua. Finn and Lady get a grape juice sword, blessed into holy water by Shelby the Worm, who is apparently a priest. Like, you're telling me this worm went through seminary, discernment, all that training to become a clergyman. Actually, now it makes sense why he lives in a treehouse with a teen boy. Finn and Lady trick Keoth into consuming the blessed sword and it kills him. And they're able to free Jake. Ricardio comes back. Would you believe it? Villains always return in OO. He reconstructed his massive limbs and has come for Carl the Gem in the tree from PB. Using Gemma's ability to bring robots to life, he gives the treehouse sentience because PB made it into a robot while Marcy lived there for her protection. This is one of those kinda stupid comic stories, but okay, buddy, the treehouse is a robot, apparently. Finn, Jake, PB, and Marcy shuts down the robot treehouse and steal the gems back. They have the robo-house fling Ricardio so far away that he re-enters Ice King's body. That part is probably not canon because Ice King wouldn't have a spot for him with his artificial heart made by PB. Either way, they lock the gems away in a dungeon to never be found again. Totally not, right? Okay, maybe I'm wrong. A girl way into the future finds them. Penelope. And I'm not talking about her yet. But Carl and Gemma get to be together for thousands of years in the chest. Finally, after being separated for millennia. Finn and Jake go to a market looking for a new sword, and they bypass their trusty friend Choose Goose, who talks in rhyme and sells junk. He's been in multiple episodes prior to this. Sorry for only mentioning him now. He becomes like incredibly important. His importance is insurmountable in like 10 years, give or take. His real name is Chauncey. Once a regular goose, and heir to massive wealth, leaves his home to find new ways to make money. He comes across a rhyming witch, and he picks her expensive berries and makes fun of her rhyme. She curses him with the same rhyme and makes his arms and legs congruous to wet noodles. Now a laughingstock, he's disowned and becomes a wandering trader. Huh? Finn and Jake go to a grass wizard vermin, and Finn buys a grass sword enchanted with the curse of binding for 3 whole smackaroos. He didn't know it was cursed, but now it's a part of his body forever. Womp womp.
The best sword.
Or womp womp. Finn begins training with this blade of grass, brandishing it all around, until he meets the last remaining Rattleballs in the junkyard. Finn and Rattleballs train until Finn narks that he's been hiding there to PB, but instead of horrifically ending his life, she knights him Sir Rattleballs and becomes the Shadow Protector of the Candy Kingdom. After he proves to her that he's a bit more rational than the other Rattleballs. Somewhere around this time, PB sends the human and the dog to the Nameless Kingdom to help them pick a leader, and they choose the Nightmare Princess, creating an alliance. Also important later. I hate this next section because of the wacky names. Janice Bizzle Thatcher unleashes Arklathak, the cosmic candy element after Loon banished him thousands of years ago. To save OO, Finn and Jake have to go to the moon and retrieve the Sword of Loon, as it's the only weapon able to defeat the cosmic elementals. And they beat Arklathak, chastising Janice for unleashing him in the first place. I would have done maybe like a little bit more than a reprimand, but they're heroes. More good in their heart, I guess. But Finn becomes injured from using the sword. Ergo, he cannot use it again, as the sword only responds to an unharmed true bearer, I think. Bimo is later corrupted by the cosmic slime elemental Nixat-Ah. Somehow he was unleashed as well. Nixat-Ah wants to rewrite the world, but instead they trap him in Microsoft Paint and deem him satiated until the end of time, which he actually is. Janice comes back later and unleashes Arklathak again.
I don't know who this is.
Maybe it wouldn't have happened if a more drastic punishment was given. Arklathak then releases both Zahn and Nixat-Ah. A disguised future old man Finn comes to assist, telling current Finn to enter a portal. Finn does, ending up on the moon in the 19th century. Finn's job is to guard the Sword of Loon for many years to come, until the true bearer comes to wield it. So he guards this sword for decades. Humans make contact with him, thinking he's an alien, but no. The human that makes contact is Davy, someone Finn pretended to be an OO one time, but they had no prior affiliation. They basically say Davy is a past incarnation of Finn, but timeline-wise, that makes absolutely no sense. Add it for fun if you want, but logically makes no sense because Davy was born before the Blue Catalyst Comet ever hit Earth. A vat of youth elixir is time teleported teleported backwards to him to rejuvenate himself to a teen, also making him immortal, so he can further protect the sword. Present-day Jake gave up his last little bit of youth so Finn could continue. That's where the elixir came from. And then Arclethak shows up and kills Jake. Yep. Not kidding. Jake really died. Jumping ahead into the future an unknown amount of time, Finn and Jake have perished and are reincarnated as Penelope and Betty. No relation to Simon's Betty Groff. Penelope was the traveler that eventually found the Carl and Gemma gems. In her time period, the cosmic elementals dominate. She sees an open portal and hops through, ending up on the moon. Penelope is able to bear the Sword of Lune, being truly worthy. I'm assuming it's because she is just Finn, you know? And speaking of, he's still old AF on the moon. Wielding the sword, Penelope exterminates the 3 cosmic elementals, erasing this timeline as well, and Finn is returned home with no memory of this. I don't know why that happened like that. Simple answer is so they could continue having comic stories. But in universe reason, now back in the corrected timeline where the cosmic elementals were never released, Gata is there as well. I guess released from her statue state, and the mouth portal is seemingly gone. But Finn and Jake don't know her still, and it might be up in the air if she even knows them. Also, Gata is never seen again. Marceline misses her teddy bear Hambo, the one from 1,000 years ago gifted by Simon. I know we're in a magical world and all, but am I the only one that sees antique stuffed animals on Facebook Marketplace or thrift stores, and they look like they've been a POW through every war, and they look like they're made from roadkill and carpet? Those are like max 100 years old. Yet her Millennium Bear is relatively in decent condition despite being 10 times older. I don't know where I was going with that, but she wants it back, and so she hunts down Maja the Witch, who Ash sold it to. PB goes with, and she trades her extremely emotionally attached shirt from Marceline for Hambo. The more sentimental value, the more valuable for spells, and is charged with tons from PB sleeping with it all the time. Using the shirt, Maja begins preparing for her all-out assault on the Candy Kingdom. There's one big story I haven't really felt too obligated to talk about until I had to. So, Wizard City is back. It's been back for quite a while. Hundreds of years actually, and I neglected to mention that. The Grand Master Wizard rules it now. Just like Hogwarts, only wizards can enter the place. A school named Wizarts is built directly on top of Kokentepe's tomb, and the cult of Kokentepe is founded so they can one day revive him. The Wizards of Wizard City host Wizard Battle, where they fight for a prize, and the prize for the battle we're privy to is a kiss from PB. Finn and Jake enter the match disguised as a wizard so they can circumvent Ice King from kissing her. In the arena, they meet Abracadaniel, who remains a good acquaintance of theirs. He was the one that helped Ice King summon Keoth quite a bit ago. One of the wizards is Bufo, a coalescence of tadpoles and a frog body. Way back in Season 1, they tricked Finn and Jake into becoming wizards to prevent an asteroid from hitting Earth. One time, PB traveled to Wizard City and was arrested for being an Muggle, despising magic, believing it to be just science, and this trip hinted to her about her own magical potential, which is really just her elemental powers, but she doesn't know she has that yet. In Wizard City, Bufo took part in Abracadaniel's attempted assassination, along with other wizards part of a secret society. So now after that long history lesson, the wizards are summoning Bella Noche, an interdimensional anti-magic being, to hopefully learn some ancient magic. When successfully summoned, she sucks all of the magic from the wizards summoning her, including Ice King, reverting him back to Simon Petrikov. Yay! He's back, but he's dying. The crown's magic was keeping him alive this whole time, so he starts to just wilt without it. Marceline is overjoyed to see him again, but he's dying. Simon's last goal is to apologize to Betty for everything. They use his book he co-authored with Betty and the recently retrieved Hambo, as it's the only object from that time period, to open a time portal. He sees Betty as she just ran and hid from a maddening Simon, and he begins apologizing to her. And this is the moment Betty disappeared for good, jumping through the time portal to Ooh. Yeah. Simon explains his situation, but Betty is determined to fix it. I haven't complained about anything up until this point because this show is awesome. But this is the one time as a viewer, it just completely donked up the believability of their situation. Look, I get we have 11-minute episodes, so there's not much time for Betty to digest this crazy new world, or the fact that she just time traveled, but she is unfazed. She acts like this type of thing happens every day. But just like a minute of her being confused by this new world would have helped. Betty gets on Ash's magic carpet they just stole and flies back to Bella Noche with Simon. Barely getting any time to reminisce, she kamikazes into Bella Noche, killing her, restoring the magic, saving Simon's life, but now he's the Ice King again, with no memory of Betty. Betty survives this, but doesn't reveal herself again, and becomes a peeping Tom, surveilling Ice King, hoping to find a cure for the crown's curse. Marceline is the rightful owner of Billy's crack. She skips having his stuff go to probate, and instead has a garage sale. Wildberry Princess purchases the feed bucket of plenty, which materializes livestock. However, the citizens that eat it become weird meat hybrids with no cure. Wildberry Princess just dumps them off to a gluttonous King Huge, who enslaves them to feed him more. Well, that didn't turn out well. His son, Prince Huge, was turned into a mega frog via a curse, and so Finn kisses him after randomly and arbitrarily figure out that that was the problem. So King Huge lives underground, and a guy named Bill fell into his chimney and accidentally thinks it's endless. Relatable. He writes his name down to not forget it, but he does, and thinks his name is 7718, 7 for short, after reading it upside down and going partially crazy. Much later, Jake falls down the chimney, and Finn actually falls into the lair. Finn teams up with the food boy servants and puts out the fire, allowing Jake and Seven to escape with him. Finn and Jake meet Canyon, Billy's ex-girlfriend, at one of Rat Bear's parties. Who's Rat Bear? Some dude they saved from being digested that they bring back like twice. They meet Party Pat, actually don't worry about him. Finn and Canyon go to Billy's crack and find his bucket list, so they decide to complete it. However, Finn has to put his big boy panties on and face his crippling fear of the ocean. Nah, I'm actually not gonna make fun of him for that. You're telling me you'd willingly swim in something that has this floating in it? No, thank you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be caught dead in the ocean. Well, barring my body wasn't dumped there. The Fear Feaster is this Luke Skywalker voiced cloud that lives inside Finn's belly button, rousing out every time Finn tries to conquer his fear. Jake tried to help him with this, but all Finn could do was this. This has been a long recurring theme, but finally this time the grass sword slices up a non-corporeal smoke fog and Finn beats his thalassophobia, and the Fear Feaster finally dies. I think so, at least.
And wasn't it because he was a kid?
Hire the iconic Mark Hamill to voice in your show, and all you got for him is a cloud, a laughing punch bowl, and a few background voices. I maybe would have utilized him more, but whatever. After completing the list, the spirit of Billy appears, and Constellation Billy tells Finn his dad is alive in the Citadel. Quicker than you can say, the Lich is about to cause more havoc. Finn and Jake go to the time room for Prismo's advice to journey to the Citadel. You must commit a cosmic crime, and killing a cosmic entity is a cosmic crime. So Prismo allows himself to be sacrificed. Not really, but yeah, kinda. They have to wake up Old Man Prismo, his corporeal body, and then Dream Prismo will disappear for 1,000 years until the old man falls back asleep. The Lich is still in the time room, so when they bring the old man into the room, so Prismo can look at himself one last time and then wake him up, the Lich does what he has such a high proclivity to do, and F the S up. He wakes up the old man, dissolves him to dust, so R.I.P. Prismo, preventing Prismo from ever coming back. So now he's dead. The Lich is arrested by the space police or whatever they're called and is taken to the Citadel. Bro did anything to leave there. Do you think when it was just Prismo and the Lich in the time room that they like talked? I feel like Prismo probably got the silent treatment. What do you even talk about? Are you really gonna ask the Lich, the embodiment of evil, how his day was? I don't know. I sometimes just ponder these questions that were never answered. Finn and Jake follow through the dimensional portal. Even though the Lich is locked into a crystal prison, he just melts his way out. Why not? He melts the entire prison, unleashing the worst possible cosmic criminals back into the multiverse. You would think this would have a little bit more of a consequence, but not really. The Lich then begins controlling the minds of these monsters. Finn reunites with his father, but of course, Martin doesn't even know who he is. He barely remembers even having a family. He's been too much of a scoundrel. One of the Citadel Guardians blows off Martin's leg, so Finn uses the Guardian's blood that conveniently heals and regrows things. Martin wants nothing to do with Finn, trying to escape with the other criminals through the portal. The Lich makes Finn fall. Gloating he finally won, but Finn uses some of that rad blood, healing the Lich from his skeleton body, reverting him back further and further to a big old baby. That's the Lich now. He's not the Lich. It's just a kid. He's not harboring any Lich inside of him. It's just a kid, and he doesn't know he was once the Lich. Finn grabs onto Martin's vehicle as him and the monsters escape. He's latched onto it like a pit bull on a kid's arm. His grass curse takes over, helping him pull, ripping his arm fully off, freeing the cosmic prisoners. Some of that goo gets on his arm, turning it into a blooming flower. Finn, Jake, and the baby Lich return to Ooh. The recently wed Tree Trunks is about to ask Mr. Pig for a divorce. Already. Continuing her wild streak, but instead the Lich baby is dropped on their front door, saving their marriage. The geriatrics name him Sweet Pea. So much for the embodiment of evil. The embodiment of good isn't acting so good anymore. He wants to tear his father's arm off in the name of his patriarchal vendetta. PB mind tricks Finn into not wanting to maim his father, which works a little bit after he built a massive tower and met Carol of the Cloud Kingdom. The tower eventually fell onto part of the Candy Kingdom, probably making a few Candy citizens homeless. In his new sorrowful, dejected era, Finn whores around a little bit, making out with every princess around. Kinda surprising with how much they actually get into this story being a kid's show and all, they draw LSP's lips in great and awful detail as she goes in to make out with Finn. And then right after, they heavily imply, they banged. You. He meets a queen bee, Breezy, who's attracted to the flower sticking out of his arm stub. Breezy's a virgin queen bee, and decides to deflower herself to save Finn from other bees, becoming a gargantuan humanoid thing. In this form, she's not just in love with the flower, but Finn too. After they harmonize together, his stump sprouts a new arm with a thorn in his palm, which is still the curse of the grass sword in him. Breezy gets what she wants too and gets the flower. I guess it's a fair trade. Finn needs a new sword, and Jake is just about to need new Prismo pickles. But Prismo's dead. Jake's on his last one, and Finn and Jake do the Pickle Rama ritual and eat the final pickle, enacting Prismo's plan B he set up before he died. Finn and Jake don't know that they just activated it. When Jake falls asleep, he awakens in the time room, just not in the main part of the time room. However, Finn is still an ooh. Jake is too, but not really. An apparition of Jake is reliving past memories, and when Finn interrupts them, Jake explodes, creating a paradox, and a new past memory will begin. Memory Jake performs the Pickle Rama ritual, so Finn does exactly what he did before to not create a paradox. Jake goes to bed, and the pickle jar illuminates, sucking him in, so Finn follows this time. Now both in the same place, but not together. When Jake first got there, he followed the beaten path, seeing past memories of Prismo, all the way to an illustrious bed where Jake falls asleep. Despite this, different Jakes are living what the first Jake just did, going through the path and such. Finn gets there and is stopped by a past memory of Prismo, knowing that this was his plan B. But as he's talking to Finn, the first Jake just fell asleep, resurrecting Prismo. So halfway through Finn's convo, Prismo can actually talk back to him. Finn and Prismo take the back entrance, and Prismo instructs Finn to now wake up Jake, so he does, kinda killing Prismo again, but they hide as a new Jake comes back and sleeps, resurrecting Prismo again. Finn is also on a loop, so they will infinitely wake Jake up after being stopped by a Prismo. So our current Prismo that stopped Finn then tells Finn to stop this next version of himself from waking Jake up, keeping Prismo alive. So he does, which blows up the secondary Finn into a sword. Finn now has a new sword, made of himself. Original Finn and original Jake are good, and a past iteration of Jake is the new sleeping Prismo, with his body turning into that old man from before. Now, if that's wrong, this whole section about Prismo's resurrection, I'm not liable. It's the most mind F of an episode, and I highly encourage you watch it. I understood it on my second watch, but I watched it a third time just to be sure. And my confidence in my correctness is not that confident. Whatever. Either way, Prismo is alive, and Finn now has a new sword called the Finn Sword. Root Beer Guy, a more prominent candy person, was anointed captain of the Banana Guard after solving a case. He finally stops writing his detective novels, which he was ignoring his wife Cherry Cream Soda for. The previous captain he replaced, Commandant Banana Guard, is furious, so he encumbers the force, causing the guards to fail. The guards want to kill the saboteur commandant, but they conclude on replacing him. Maja the Sky Witch, using the immense power of PB's shirt, awakens Darren the Ancient Sleeper, and the two of them head to the Candy Kingdom. Root Beer Guy activates the force field around the Candy Kingdom, protecting it from Darren, but Root Beer Guy dies in the process. Finn and Jake call upon the power of the ancient psychic Tandem War Elephant, who seemingly has some morsel of a past with Darren, but it's never explored. Him and Finn manage to kill Darren and put Maja in a coma, and the Candy Kingdom lives another day. Finn and Jake release the elephant from their care to explore life. The elephant vows to protect Maja until she awakens after his own moral journey, or something. I don't know. I question if this show is just really smart, or if I'm really dumb, or if it gives the illusion of being smart. I don't know, best I don't think of it. The sun ends up speaking to the elephant and talks of the meaninglessness of life. So great, the sun is also sentient. PB opens the Banana Guard force to more than just bananas. With the death of the first two options for the new commandant, Lemon Grab and Root Beer Guy, Peppermint Butler reaches out to a prophet if he should be replaced at all. After he does this, the timeline diverges into two separate timelines, one where he's fired and one where he isn't. Pepbutt is able to repair the timeline with the help from Root Beer Guy's ghost, but the fixed timeline results in the Robo-Apocalypse. These comics are the most insane thing. Years go by and Peppermint Butler and his remaining survivor crew are able to travel back in time at the Citadel of Temporal Attunement, and Peppermint Butler prevents PB from ever opening the Banana Guard to non-bananas. It wipes the timeline back to normal with only Pepbutt remembering. He decides to let nature take its correct course, allowing for the death of Lemon Grab and Root Beer Guy, even though he in theory could have stopped it. Widow show, Cherry Cream Soda marries the gravedigger Starchy and they live happily ever after. Lightning strikes, resurrecting Root Beer Guy into Dirt Beer Guy, not quite the same man he once was. He's a homewrecker and causes Cherry Cream Soda and Starchy's divorce, but this doesn't result in their remarriage. Instead, they date while Dirt Beer Guy becomes the local candy bartender. Martin Mertens is returning to Ooo in his spaceship at a rapid rate. Behind him, out of the field of vision, is a purple catalyst comet, due to hit Earth very soon. Mars detects Martin and believes it's the comet, but on course for Mars, not the cooler one next door. To protect his people, Grob Gob Glob Grod flies up to Martin, bouncing Martin en route to Earth but sacrificing himself. Glob kinda dies, he no longer has a body, but the 4 separate heads float linearly in space. Martin crashes quite a ways away from the treehouse, but in a dream, Finn is guided there. Guided? That doesn't sound right. He's gid there, he's goed there. Finn ends up at Martin's crash site and they have some catching up to do. Martin's a real POS. Not one redeeming quality about him. Finn hopes to find some answers, but Martin has none to give, either out of avoidance or true forgetfulness. Martin rebuilds his ship and launches back into space, quelling Finn's vendetta. He ends up landing on a planet where he steals a bunch of their treasures and takes off back into space on a giant moth. Glob just had a major makeover, and now his brother is about to face the same. Betty has been studying around Ooo, and somewhere in there coming into an agreement with Magic Man. Detritus of Glob crashed down to Earth, and Betty gets her science-y paws on the helmet. It's a trapezoid. Her conclusion is that wizards and magic wielders have varying degrees of magic, madness, and sadness. MMS. Finn and Jake happen to find Betty and investigate, but Magic Man turns them into an egg and a bowl of soup, displaying them next to Tiny Manticore. Betty uses the helmet as the final piece to her invention contraption doohickey. Her and Magic Man get into their pods and begin. Magic Man's magic will be transferred to Betty and Magic Man will become the new Glob, and begin a reign of terror on Mars. Egg Finn, with help from Tiny Manticore, gets baked into bread and smashes the machine, only completing halfway. Betty gains his magic, but Magic Man doesn't get his end of the bargain, becoming the simple Normal Man. Now Betty's crazy and uses that crazy for her research. Normal Man has Tiny Manticore retrieve Glob's head from space, but Tiny Manticore turns on him for the years of suffering Magic Man put him through. Normal Man, Finn, and Jake now have to get the bodiless head of Glob. Tiny ends up being chill and stops his evil plot. What a unique character. Now with Glob's head and caring for someone, Normal Man can use his transporter to Mars. In their blastoff, Glob bequeaths the job of King of Mars to Normal Man, now that he has truly changed for the better. Glob goes back into his linear orbit with his bros, and Normal Man becomes King Man, ruler of Mars. Betty went a different route. She kidnaps Gunter, so she is able to lure Ice King to her and reprogram the crown. The new alteration makes Ice King glitch, so PB and Marceline, who were gonna have a date with him, go inside the crown using PB's science. Inside, they see all past users' stored identities, so Gunther, Santa, Svein, and Simon. PB, Marcy, Simon, and Gunther journey together and find an implanted version of Betty rewiring the crown, which is causing it to collapse. Fake Betty falls in love with fake Simon, so she stops messing with the crown, and it kicks PB and Marcy out now that its defenses aren't lowered, and the crown is back to normal. Super Porp, the great pop drink, becomes the subject of a new mission. A new batch of Super Porp is delivered to a vending machine, and the main gang loves it, questioning how its operations can still be running since Marceline loved it as a kid. Susan Strong finds out for us, after one of Super Porp's drones steals a baby. The factory is underground and almost fully automated. Susan Strong puts an end to the perverse production, beating the mascot and head of the factory, Cheryl, to death, and altering its addictive taste for the worst. Jake and his brother Jermaine are telepathically connected in their dreams for zero reason, so while they both sleep, they are able to communicate. This inspires Finn and Jake to visit their mostly estranged brother, who is a slave to all of their father's antiquities. Jermaine's the only mature one here, but they teach him the best lesson of all. Actually, I don't remember what it was, but they burn the house down with Jermaine's permission and free him of his proverbial chains. The real purple catalyst comet is hurtling toward Ooo. PB is extremely focused on it, leaving a weak spot as the despot. The illegitimate king of Ooo has been scamping around Candy Kingdom with his partner in crime, Toronto. They trick Sweet Pea, need I remind you, the innocent form of the embodiment of evil, into making money for them. But when they make him angry, his secret powers comes out, getting inside King of Ooo and Toronto's heads, showing them the pre-nothingness monsters and nearly driving them crazy with it. Sweet Pea's like, oops, must have been the wind, and just bottles up his powers for another day. The King of Ooh begins challenging PB in a barely yet fully legal election. The Cosmic Owl suffers the same fate as Prismo, eternally lonely. His job is to watch over all dreams and when to make them prophetic and when to make them croak dreams. His horniness clouds his judgment and sees a schmexy bird lady in Finn's dream. He chases her throughout other people's dreams, turning them prophetic when they shouldn't have been, along with neglecting his job of making other dreams prophetic, preventing certain things from coming true. He meets her in her own dream, but it's dull and icy, so he takes her to his cosmic apartment, where she wants to go inside PB's dream. When they enter, the ladybird destroys the Candy Kingdom, turning this prophetic. The Cosmic Owl takes the schmexy bird out of there and wakes her up, and this dream bird belonged to none other than Orgalorg, in compressed Gunter form. Not much later, Gunter has a little oopsie and gets a ravine put in his head, letting his Orgalorg brain expel a little. Orgalorg regains his consciousness and takes control over the feeble penguin body. He performs a ritual which communicates to citizens, presumably across the multiverse, that Orgalorg is back, sending them into a panic. PB's plan to deter the comet is to knock it off course with a rocket ship, not paying any mind to any bogus campaigns, assuming her constituents that she made will vote for her. Well, PB is deposed, and the King of Ooh becomes princess. After Starchy totally legitimately announced the results with no foul play, this landslide was won thanks to lobbyists and a cult. The lobbyist being Orgalorg, under the alias Mr. X. He was King of Ooh's campaign manager in hopes King of Ooh's ineptitude will allow him to further his agenda. And the cult was the Veritas Brigade. They oppose anything Princess Bubblegum. The brigade was conceived by Starchy, known conspiracy theorist, and was much later joined by Tree Trunks, when PB's colonization of space becomes a concern. PB created the space program to save Marceline from space. She was also the one that launched her, but she fixed that mistake. That's all that matters. She did that because Marcy kinda went bonkers nuts, going on like a demolition kick, so PB launched her into space to save Ooh, but then she has to go and get her, and while they're in space, Cinnamon Bun gets crazy powers and threatens all of Ooh, so their return is a little urgent, but has since been sending little candy seeds onto other planets to further extend her race. Tree Trunks' space kids are being harmed by PB impregnating planets with her little candy people. Tree Trunks shows PB the harm she has caused, eventually coming to an agreement where the Greys will willingly spread the candy people back on their abandoned planet, which will take decades to get back there. Starchy is able to escape the constant surveillance, and who knows what happened to him, but he was probably just cloned in the Candy Kingdom, leaving the first Starchy out there somewhere. Actually, probably not. He's probably dead. Eaten by like a mole or something. Also, I called him the first Starchy. It's definitely not the first Starchy. No. PB and Pet Butt move to Uncle Gumbald's old shack and stay there quite a while. With no one to stop him, Orgalorg completes PB's ship and launches into space. Except Finn and Jake board it, just in the nick of time. Orgalorg is attempting what he did long ago, consume the Catalyst Comet. Once in space, gravity no longer confines him to the Gunter body, regaining his form, and he blasts Finn and Jake out into space. He gives them a Beat Boy, frees their soul, they get lost in his rock and roll, and Finn and Jake drift away from each other. Jake fulfills his prophetic dream from long ago that he believed was his croak dream, but it actually wasn't, and Banana Man saved his life because he just happens to be out in space too. Finn is rescued by none other than his father and the Moth Thing. Together they full speed ahead for Orgalorg in the middle of his tasty comet dinner. Finn jumps inside of his mouth and his thorn hand shreds up Orgalorg, but it certainly doesn't kill the indomitable beast. It does break the comet though. The comet speaks to Finn and Martin, I think telepathically, and offers Finn, a fellow Catalyst Comet, to transcend time with him, or remain mortal on Ooh. Finn picks the latter, but Martin wants to, even though it really wasn't offered to him. And the comet and Martin Mertens become non-corporeal and go away forever. Banana Man and Jake rescue Finn and head back to Ooh. Orgalorg hitches a ride, decompressing back into Gunter upon re-entry, and now has reverted back to his completely harmless state. The King of Ooh really junks up the kingdom. He releases Nettie, creating an outage in the kingdom, and of course, PB has to come to the rescue. Finn and Jake eventually get fired from the King of Ooh's royal guard and join up with PB, Pet Butt, and Marceline out in the shack. Marceline is finally ready to become immortal, so PB procures a machine to get rid of her vampirism. She's still half demon, but she's lost all of her powers she obtained from the court, leading to her macabre, deathy coolness rekindling the lives of the vampire court. I'll sum this up real nice and easy for you. They kill all of the court besides the vampire king, and Marceline gets all of her powers back. Before they killed the Empress, she went to the Ice King and told him to submit, which certainly piqued his interest. Quote, "I like where this is going." Okay, Simon, is the crown making you say that, or what were you and Betty doing? The Vampire King wants things to go differently this time. He willingly lets them extract his vampire-y ooey gooey goodness, and so he's purified. But his powers formed a vampire death cloud, which tries to destroy Oo, and so Marcy kills it, becoming a vampire again, giving meaning to that one phrase, do no harm. We're exactly where we started, but they're a little less happy. Maybe. I don't know. At least the Vampire King still exists as a lion thing. The candy people coo it up, and Crunchy pushes the King of Oo into his fire, melting him. Because he's Earwax. Earwax Man. He's an Earwax Man. PB usurps her erstwhile position and is ready for the next miniseries. But first, we must Mo-earn the death of Mo. BMO found his origins in the Mo Co. factory a few seasons back, where he met Mo, a gaunt, lily-livered dude being kept alive by his Mo machines. He created an entire Mo civilization in his factory, but now he's kaput, kicked the bucket, he's dead. But his mind was uploaded into a little thumb drive. Amo returns to the factory right before his final days, and Mo entrusts Amo with blasting the thumb drive into space. But instead, the little malicious dude sticks Mo inside himself. That maybe could have sounded a little better. Amo can now pose as Mo as if he uploaded his mind. He also trash compacted all other Mo robots into one called Almo. So Amo goes to the treehouse to have his brother Bimo killed, but with the help of Almo, they find out and they kill Amo. Kinda Amo did it himself on accident, but a positive of this is BMO salvaged Mo's memory drive. Incoming call from their favorite quasi-corporeal friend, Prismo. The existential threat that is the embodiment of evil, the Lich, is trying to kill everyone in the multiverse. Again. Whoa. You're probably thinking the Lich is this chunky baby boy now, and he doesn't even know he's the Lich. How does he want to destroy everything? That's not the Lich doing it. It's the other Lich. It's the Lich Jake thing from the Farmworld dimension. He has teamed up with Ice Finn and are going to open a portal with the Enchiridion. They have captured Bobby, this world's version of Billy. Finn and Jake are sent there by Prismo to kill them. But are you offing yourself if you kill an alternate version of yourself? Or is it murder? Either way, Finn commits neither. Lich Jake and Ice Finn do open the multiverse portal, but they cut off Lich Jake's hand, causing it to fall in their portal soup, multiplying the hand, so now every dimension ever has a Lich hand in it, which actually isn't as consequential as you'd think. They kill the Lich with Prismo's Maid Thing, and it becomes regular Jake. Finn secretly grabs the Farmworld Enchiridion, and back in the time room. Finn requests Prismo help Farmworld Finn, ridding him of the crown forever. So he Control-C, Control-V's that mofo back onto the Simon cadaver, hopefully exploding it when the mutagenic bomb blows. But that also doesn't happen. However, it does result in Farmworld Finn becoming a good boy. PB creates a new candy person, Bun Bun, for CB, who's probably a little lonely in the Fire Kingdom. Bun Bun ends up freeing the Flame King, and instead of cooing the coup that uncooed his coup when he attempted uncooing his original coup, he lives with chipmunks, with Bun Bun. He kinda just stops caring about the Flame Kingdom, but shows his support for his daughter in a rap battle she has to win against Rat Bear's son. Otherwise, she'll lose the kingdom to Toronto, King of Oo's now solo ex-partner. Finn moves on from FP, remaining an ally, but begins dating the Huntress Wizard in the forest. They're both in love, but instead of staying together, in the name of future good deeds, they split up so they can help people. Okay, Finn might be an incel. Remember Patient St. Pim, ice elemental that's been frozen for a long time? Well, she emerges like Fry, 1,000 years in the future. She meets the Ice King, Finn, Jake, and everybody else. She hires Ice King to do what he does best and kidnap princesses. He brings in PB, FP, and Slime Princess. Each are the modern-day elementals. They are completely unaware of this, so Patience schools them on some elemental knowledge. FP has always had powers and Slime Princess learns hers, but PB has trouble. Some time goes by and Patience conceals herself in a powerful ice thing and unleashes icy hell on the Candy Kingdom. Not with the intent of causing damage, but forcing PB to unlock her elemental candy powers. She has visions from the previous candy elemental of Evergreen's time, Chatsberry, acting as a mentor. And now that PB has her powers, Patience's plan is one step closer. So the Finn Sword, the sword made of an iteration of Finn, and that Finn exists in this little blue gem part. Original Finn and Finn Sword Finn are able to communicate, but Sword Finn usually stays quiet. Well, the Finn Sword is stolen, and the Grass Sword reemerges from his body in its replacement. The Grass Sword skewers that blue gem, killing Finn Sword Finn, but it doesn't actually do that. The Curse of the Grass Sword, which is this little squid guy, teams up with Finn Sword Finn, and since a version of himself just died, real-life Finn's woes spiral again. He needs a therapist. In his umpteenth depression, he goes to the Hall of Egress, and I'm only mentioning this because it's such a beloved episode. And I'm not gonna crap on it. It's like every other episode, it's good. But I'm just sort of confused that it's regarded as one of the best episodes by the fandom. I've watched it a handful of times across the making of this video, trying to understand why.
Yeah, I didn't understand either. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it is a good episode though.
Why? I don't get it. Maybe I am too stupid for this show. And so he accidentally desentients his son Neptr, and then resentients him. Technically Neptr did die, but he also didn't. Finn is wielding the root sword again, his second sword ever, that he got from the murder mystery birthday train Jake set up forever ago. His only sword that was not destroyed and rather just replaced, so he's using it again. Finn, Jake, and Susan explore Dr. Gross's lab. She has continued to amass her perverted menagerie, and now has a student, Tiffany. This is a shock to Finn, who witnessed him die. A while back, Finn had to go to the dentist, but was required to join some ant military service for free dental care. Finn? That's why insurance is important. A fellow cadet was Tiffany, who could only gum his food after his full edentialism following his consumption of the baker's shard. Tiffany gives up on killing Finn, and they reconcile. And shortly after, Tiffany's eaten by a worm. But surprise, he's alive and helps Dr. Gross attempt surgery on the three. But they're like, nah, we good. And boom booms the lab, killing Dr. Gross and Tiffany. Wait, no, not Tiffany. And maybe not Dr. Gross. Kinda depending on which continuity you look at. Not important yet though. Because of this battle, Susan's chip is activated after years of inactivity, sending her on a rampage, killing Rattleballs. He is rebuilt later, but her berserk causes the grass sword to reactivate and almost kills Susan. It rips Finn's arm off again and merges with the deactivated Finn sword, creating a grass Finn. This isn't really a copy, it's just Finn again, since it was a past iteration, but this new grass guy is a little corrupted by the squid. Finn meet Fern. Fern meet Finn. Both go through some identity crises, both have their little depressions, but Fern reinvents himself through some individuality stuff. Now armless again, PB gives him a robo-arm she made when he originally lost his arm the first time. The human islands have detected Susan's head implant, so a ship is departed to retrieve her. They destroy it, but they use BMO to gank the map from it. Finn, Jake, Susan, and secretly BMO set sail for the islands. Finn entrusts Fern to be the protector of Ooh in his absence. The Guardian flips them every which way, each ending up in different spots. Finn and Jake wash up on an island with one human occupant, Alva, a Swedish lady who escaped the main island a while back with some other humans, creating an artificial weather system. But Alva is the only one that remains. She cartographies them up a map, and they're on their way to Better Reality Island, where all humans are willingly enslaved to a VR game that BMO finds himself supreme ruler of. They try to free the Redditors and Discord mod humans, but they just leave them to their vices, but they do sort of forcefully take back BMO. Next, they find Susan reminiscing on Hub Island, where Dr. Gross's disease forced everyone to leave. For some odd reason, Susan gets rid of her poo brain and speaks fluent American and remembers everything. They eventually make it to the Founder's Island, and Finn can finally meet his mother, despite a little confusion with the Minerva bots. When Finn isn't the biggest fan of his authoritarian mother and threatens to leave, she threatens to wipe out the entire human race by uploading their minds like hers. Finn proves the outside world they're oh so afraid of can produce good people like him, which technically isn't the best argument since his being is the literal embodiment of good and would be good no matter the surroundings and environment. But ignoring that aspect, Ooh isn't super bad, so Minerva doesn't obliterate everyone. Susan reconciles with Frida when she unwillingly destroyed her boat. Minerva lets whoever they want leave, but no one chose to besides Frida. Finn, Jake, and BMO return to Ooh on the freighter Two Bread Tom originally arrived on in Marceline days. They all deactivate the Guardian, but Susan and Frida leave separately on their own adventures and is never seen again. Plotline fulfilled. After they left for the island, Patient St. Pim returns and hypnotizes PB, FP, and SP to bring her manifest destiny of Ooh to fruition. She needs an immense magic source to complete whatever you would call it that she is doing. Betty the Magic Battery flies into the Ice Kingdom that day to see her past hubby pumpkin schmuckums to give their relationship a fresh start after giving up on fixing him. Patience freezes Betty and uses her power for an elemental purification spell, separating all of Ooh into 4 elemental lands with 4 separate kingdoms, like it was in the ancient days of Evergreen. Welcome to Game of Adventure Time. Adventure Time of Thrones. No, that doesn't work. Everything in each land becomes that element. Even the people. For example, a candy fern and a candy tree trunks. And they all have fun names, like Neptr becomes Nectar. Each element has an emotion, so all beings in the candy quadrant are constantly elated. In the Fire Kingdom, it's rage, Ice Kingdom is sadness, and the Slime Kingdom is partiers? Maybe? When they are converted, they lose their identities and just serve the element. The elementals only care about turning more things into their element. Ice King and Gunter escape to the skies once Patience took over. On the freighter, Finn, Jake, and Beemo encounter the Nightmare Princess. She gives them a flask of nightmare juice in exchange for their bananas on board. That's important at the end of next season. It's like the longest Chekhov's gun they ever do. Finn, Jake, and Beemo return to see their world completely changed. The treehouse is candified. They find regular Sweet Pea out in the woods. Because he is the Lich, he's unaffected. They lose Beemo to the candy, but Ice King rescues Finn and Jake. They go to the Ice Kingdom to rescue Betty. Patience admits to them that she regrets converting the world, but is too sad to do anything. Betty tries to procure some sort of solution and needs a spellbook, but not any spellbook, the supremest of spellbooks, the Enchiridion. So Finn gives her the one he ganked from the farm world. According to Betty, the elemental purification spell can be reversed if they retrieve the jewels from each crown in the remaining 3/4. In the Slime Kingdom, Jake is assimilated and absorbed into the Slime Princess Coalescence thingamabob, discorporating, and I'm pretty sure that's the 3rd time he's died, and it's not his last. Finn gets Slime Princess's gem, but must continue his journey without Jake. Because she is an element herself, the anti-element, LSP cannot be converted, so she reluctantly helps Finn. In the Raging Flame Kingdom, they find Cinnamon Bun also unfazed because of his flame shield. He takes them to a dragonized Flame Princess, but Finn is turned into a flame person, leaving only LSP. All flame people just brawl and fight each other. It's utter chaos constantly. LSP tries to stop it, but only directs the anger towards the Candy Kingdom. Cool! Now they've gone to war. LSP unfires Finn with gum from the PB building, aka smelling salts, and he's Finn the Human once more. In true fascist fashion, PB candifies all fire people with her candyfying song, and proliferates her candy forth into the other kingdoms. Consuming the Ice Kingdom, Patience refreezes herself for another millennium. Second time's the charm. Right? Isn't that what they say? Finn is able to get PB's and FP's gems, giving all 3 to Betty. She just nabs them and bounces, leaving them in the dust. She never intended on helping them. They forgot they're dealing with an actual deranged witch. She intends on going back in time to before Simon ever found the crown to cure him once and for all. Ice King doesn't really even understand what she said, but stops her halfway through, and the half-cast spell sends her to Mars. They figure out that LSP's complaining and arrogance, coupled with the gems and Ice King's crown, reverts the magic, so her butt fuses with Ooh, turning everyone back to normal, but it undoes a little too much magic, regrowing Sweet Pea's other horn. Jake becomes more like his father, well, other father, Warren Ampersand, turning big and blue, and growing 2.5 times the amount of eyes, and finally, and most consequentially, the Candy People prisons. Punchy, Manfred, and Crunchy are all relinquished, freeing Uncle Gumbald, Aunt Lolly, and Cousin Cheekley. And boy, let me tell ya, if I was stuck in a candy dude for a millennium, I would be mostly angry. I feel like a part of me might give up on revenge about halfway through, but these guys don't. They retreat to a ziggurat and begin their evil master plan. First, we have to deal with Jake's new body. These are the changes Joshua warned Jermaine about. It is through Jermaine that Jake learns to accept the new him. Even though nothing inside him has changed, his body is definitely different. The original was much more friendly to look at, but I'm glad he's happy either way. But I'd rather look at the yellow one. But through his self-acceptance, he becomes yellow again, because that's what happens when you find inner peace, I guess. Kim Kil-wan contacts his father and uncle to investigate some weird happenings at his grandparents' investigations office. In the attic lives Clockbear, one of Dr. Gross's experiments. He was causing the time slips previously mentioned. This is when Finn and Jake sort of communicate with their parents. It's kind of like they're ghosts. Through this, Jake is able to witness his own nativity. Absolutely appalled at this bonkers revelation, some explaining is needed, and just the person, well, thing shows up to explain. His father, a dying Warren Ampersand, comes to Ooh, and Jake goes back to Nara with him. Warren deceives his son like he did to all the others. He creates the entire city and everyone in it, blah blah. You know how all that works. So Warren begins sucking Jake's stretchy powers. Warren admits Jake is the only son he has ever felt bad for killing because he's just so much cooler than the rest. As Jake's all gaunt and dying, he's able to trick his father, suck his stretchiness back. Warren tries to get to Jake's children, but Jake throws him into a black hole, killing his father. And guess what I'm gonna say? Yeah, patricide, baby. But now Jake's stuck on Nara. Finn doesn't think much of it, but over a month goes by and it starts raising a few flags. Really? A month? And then you get worried about Jake?
Crazy.
Finn and Jermaine travel to Mars to get help from Kingman. Betty is currently being castigated, forced to fill a hole with sand, grain by grain. Kingman helps them, but they must work with Betty to do things that does a thing that leads to some things. I don't know how to explain this. The intention was to help Betty move on from Simon, but it only emboldens her to cure him more. Irregardless, Jake is back. I don't know how to explain this. Who's our favorite embodiment of evil? Yes, you are. The Lich. He's back. Specifically, the Lich's hand that multiplied and ended up in every universe. Oo's version of the hand goes to the prior Lich, Sweet Pea, and tries to corrupt his mind to have the second coming of the Lich. It's more like the eighth coming, but I think you get the gist. Finn and Fern are out fishing, and Sweet Pea comes running like a bat out of hell, scared of the hand. Fern's at his nadir. He thinks he's useless, and just mucks everything up. Finn chases the hand to the Lich's well of power, while Fern's in charge of the big baby, making sure he wouldn't follow. The Lich hand almost kills Finn, but Sweet Pea saves the day after knocking Fern out cold so he could help, and in one swift blow impales the hand, ridding Ooh of the Lich forever. Was this murder? Or, you know, like, was it just an overzealous amputation? I don't know if there's a cool aside for that one. Being a crummy failure, living in Finn's shadow, Fern wants a way out. He figures kill the thing that makes the shade for him to be in the shadow. So he's gonna kill Finn. Fern learns he can fully change his appearance to regular Finn. I don't know why that's a possibility. So he tries to make it look like an accident, locking him in the ziggurat, Gumball's ziggurat to be exact. Very conveniently, Finn's robot arm has a saw blade among other things and frees himself. Finn's arm has a weed whip function and cuts right through Fern, thinking he killed him. Finn returns home, now at his nadir. So Finn doesn't feel like hanging out with Jake one day, and just the notion of that deemed it a broken oath. He is taken to Chronologius Rex in the Vanishing Point, partnered with Shoko, who is a time echo here. Finn is able to tell Jake and PB that he's about to be erased from time, so while Finn catches up with Billy in the Vanishing Point, Jake and PB round up everyone they've ever encountered, even Donnie and President Porpoise. In the Fire Kingdom, Bimo plugs himself into the last sleeping fire giant, as they were compatible due to their creator being Mo. They use the energy from the giant to power PB's time machine, and so Jake travels to the Vanishing Point for his bro. Chronologius Rex shows Finn 3 potential outcomes of his future: a great warrior of the Candy Kingdom, a teacher back on the human island, or captain of a spaceship exploring outer space. Jake gets there and proves he made the oath too, and if Finn is erased, it will subsequently break Jake's oath or something like that. So Chronologius Rex lets them go without letting them go on paper. Jumping back through time, Finn and Jake go through the past and future. They see Cuber, Gunther, Lemon Hope, who's been on his journey for 1,000 years at that point. They see the installation of Margles, Rainicorn Dog Wars, Glob versus Orgalorg, the construction of the Candy Kingdom, and PB and Marcy's blooming relationship. Marcy recognizes them despite not technically meeting them yet, and gives them a time amulet they said to give to them. They see Billy and Canyon, Patient St. Pim. This is where they give her the idea of freezing herself. And they find Simon and Marcy traveling. They give young Marcy the time amulet, telling her to give it to them in the future. This creates a paradox for that amulet, but we're fine. And then they return to modern day, and it's a big ol' reunion. Gumball finds the remains of Fern and reconstructs him as the Green Knight. He begins making candy subjects like his creator and sicks them on the Candy Kingdom. Finn hasn't been able to hurt anything after constantly seeing Fern every time he goes to kill something. So Gumball's new creature attacks the Candy Kingdom, and Finn is impotent in battle. He steadfastly overcomes this with the help of Huntress Wizard, resuming their relationship, getting rid of his impotence. PB recognizes certain goblets from way back when and realizes they're missing Candy Kingdom residents, deciphering that her kin is back. Gumball, Lolly, Cheekley, and Fern crash Finn's birthday party and give a warning to the kingdom, one that they should heed. Gumball and Cheekley plot out a massive psyop for the Candy Kingdom residents. They get their hands on the Enchiridion and take the Ice King's crown. They flood Ooh, melting the Ice Kingdom and extinguishing the Fire Kingdom. The thought behind it is that PB is the only one capable of the technology of doing this, hoping that Candy people assume it's a failed experiment, but no one does, and it blows up in their face. Gumball and gang are imprisoned in the Candy Kingdom, but Fern frees them, like really easily. Finn and Jake pull the drain plug of Ooh, which somehow exists, and defloods it. Now this happened in a video game, and it's a little iffy if it actually occurred or not. If Gumball was captured, I think he would have been put in a more secure chamber than the one he was in, and definitely wouldn't have escaped that easily. So err on the side of caution with this side story. Either way, war preparations have begun, and Finn is swordless, and instead of pulling his his root sword back out, Pet Butt manufactures a new one for him. But as the cherry on top, it needs a little bedazzling. So Pet Butt summons good old Hunson Abadir, who willingly enchants it, christening it the Night Sword. He wants to see Marcy, so they let him like he's on parole, and he becomes an audience member in her concert. He's extremely proud of his daughter, and Chicole uses this. This is an attempt to get at Marceline, and through the domino effect, to get PB. But they make it out mostly unbruised, but Hunson has to go back home. He can't stay for obvious soul-sucking reasons. Gumbald has created Gumbaldia, his own kingdom, which holds its own massive army. He creates a colossus called the Cake, and assembles the Legion of Candy Kingdom haters. Tons of past enemies, including creepy heart guy Ricardio, the Hitman Scorcher, Peacemaster, the guy that wanted to originally protect PB, Ash, and tons more I did not mention throughout this video. Ice King is there too, but he has no clue what he's doing ever. Finn and Jake sneak into Gumbaldia for peace talks. Gumbald puts on a big front and falsely accepts a truce, and then splashing them with celebratory juice. This is Gumbald's original creation, Dum Dum Juice, hoping it manages to get on PB upon their return. Some gets on Chicole and he hides before turning back into Crunchy. When they return, PB figures it out, but it touches Pet Butt, regressing him to a baby. This initiates the war. Many others beyond Finn and Jake have joined the effort. Marceline, Lady, LSP, both Flame Princess and Slime Princess, Huntress Wizard, Lemon Grab, and the Duke of Nuts, which is such an out of left field pull. He had a story in like season 1 where he steals pudding due to an alleged pudding deficiency, but now apparently has been since forgiven. Even the ancient psychic tandem War Elephant joins the effort. In the preceding night to the fight, Finn and Jake notice Kingman, Betty, and Maja the Sky Witch floating above the battlefield performing a seance. I'm sure this won't result in anything, right? Finn is able to get Princess Bubblegum and Gumbald in the middle of the battlefield before anything happens. Jake smashes the flask of nightmare juice from the Nightmare Princess, sending Finn, Jake, PB, Gumbald, and Fern into one shared dream, also paying off that Chekhov's gun. In this dream, PB and Gumbald see each other's perspectives, and Finn and Fern work out their problems with each other, or technically with himself, I guess. Jake manages to connect everything, and they fight their demons, killing the grass curse. At the end of the dream, they unite on a beach together, and the Cosmic Owl swoops in real quick, making this prophetic. They wake up, and PB agrees on peace, and Gumbald totally, definitely does as well, as he trips on Lolly, spilling his double-crossing Dum Dum Juice on himself, designated for PB. Now he's just punchy again. Aunt Lolly really does agree on peace though. A portal opens up in the sky, and Kingman is propelled out of it. And to quote legendary crooner Frank Sinatra, the best is yet to come. Finally, the embodiment of chaos, Golb, shortly follows Kingman. Betty's plan is to somehow control Golb's power to remove the crown's curse on Simon. Golb is able to reduce things to its essential form, making it so the crown's wish wasn't used yet. Now, the war happens. Golb turns Gumbald's warriors into one horrific freak, and all other soldiers abandoned and or are discharged from the fight, leaving only our main characters and the Gumball Guardians. Wait, no, one's dead, and the other one gets possessed by Golb. It looks like PB is killed, so Marceline goes berserk with her powers. PB didn't die, and they smooch, along with Lemon Grab and LSP, which, you know, whatever. Kingman flies Finn and Ice King up to Betty, who's still attached to Maja, performing whatever kind of spell this is. Ice King is encouraged to talk her out of it, but I don't know how many times we've been through this, but does no one know Ice King cannot physically remember her? This makes Betty angry, supercharging Maja, awakening her from her long coma, and then quickly overloading her body with magic, blowing her up, killing her, blasting Ice King and Betty inside of Golb. Man, I thought Maja's story would lead to something just a tad cooler, but explosion. You win some, you lose some. Finn jumps to save Ice King, losing his robo-arm in the process. Inside Golb's boxy stomach, they are reduced to their essential forms. Ice King becomes Simon again, and Betty likewise becomes sane. The crown reverts as well, allowing for a new wish. But they're about to die, so Simon and Betty say their goodbyes. The horrific Golb-created creatures defeat most of the good guys, and furthers the destruction outside the Candy Kingdom, obliterating the treehouse and cracking Bemo's screen. Jake curls up into the fetal position and Bemo sings to him, which begins hurting the weird crazy monster. PB instructs all of Ooh to begin singing, making them vulnerable due to the harmonization. This rips a hole in Golb, allowing Finn and Simon to escape, but Betty stays to make a new wish on the ice crown. She tries to remove Golb from this dimension, but after the first few attempts fail, because wish magic doesn't work on Golb, her wish is to protect Simon at all costs. This fuses Betty with Golb, becoming Golbetti, and she peacefully leaves Ooh. The crown pops out of the fleeting portal, and Gunter gets his flippers on it. He wishes to become the Ice King, just like Gunther did before him, making the Ice Crown again, and Gunther becomes the Ice Thing. Since they killed the grass curse in the dream, which became prophetic, I guess, actually, technically a croak dream now, Fern begins to die. He Mr. Starks the way out of there, leaving behind his seed in Finn's hand. Nah, I'm not gonna make the joke. This is an emotional moment. The seed is planted into the new treehouse, bearing the Finn sword. Once again, the treehouse is made of Finn corpse, just as Shoko before. Things repeat themselves in Adventure Time. Following the battle, there is prosperity for everybody. The humans finally decide to move to U, creating Upton, a floating city mostly resembling regular cities of yesteryear. PB takes a laissez-faire approach to ruling, leaving the kingdom mostly behind, and moves in with Marcy. The Ice Thing and Turtle Princess get married. I don't judge. Well, I do, very much so, but not necessarily here. I just really wonder how that could work. Tiffany is apparently alive. Jiggler is a businessman. Maybe he's training under the zombie guys from season 1. We see Susan and Frida very briefly, doing nothing important, and Lemon Hope is there too. LSP becomes ruler of Lumpy Space, becoming a true princess. Sweet Pea graduates. Aunt Lolly becomes ruler of Gumbaldia. I don't know if she's actually a princess, but ruler nonetheless. As for Gumbald and Cheekley, they remain alive as candy citizens. Punchy and Crunchy forever stuck once again in their candy body prisons. But as for our heroes, Finn and Jake, what do they do going forward? Well, for Jake, he dies. Somewhere in the next 10 or so years following the battle. He ages much faster than Finn, so understandably he dies first. Finn gets a tattoo across his chest, memorializing his dog brother. He grows up quite a lot, like physically. Holy my god, he becomes massive. He doesn't age too gracefully though. He looks like he could be 40, pushing 50 at 29.
Yeah.
Finally,
sure.
Simon, he's had a sad life since Betty's kind of death. He also misses being the Ice King, wearing the blue moo-moo around sometimes.
I don't like
With
that
all
right
of his
there.
ice magic
No
gone,
way.
Fiona and Cake's dimension in his head has also lost a lot of its magic, turning it into a real human world. I question if this would cause Ricardio to die from the loss of magic as well, even though he hadn't been connected to him for a while. Ricardio was produced through his magic. Yeah, probably not. He's been independent from the Ice King. Molto Larvo has been reawakened in the Glass Kingdom by a child named Glass Boy. He journeys to get Marceline to force it back into its cave. On his way, he bumps into Choose Goose, carting a massive cargo of illegal moisturizer en route to Wizard City. Glass Boy finds Marcy, and with PB tagging along, the three go back to the Glass Kingdom to assist See-Through Princess and her kingdom. Mirroring their situation from many years ago, PB and Marceline begin to strain their relationship, mostly over control issues or whatever it is now. Marceline goes to the bunker her mother sent her to shortly before she died to now find new...
I need to research what this is, because I don't know what it is. Yeah, man, not forcing myself to spoil anything. I will be stopping the video, because I'm pretty sure that's part of the movie, which I found out late that it was a movie. If you guys want me to react to that, I'll react to it with Dame Frank. Me and him actually was in the call earlier talking about we should react to the movie, Adventure Time movie. But yeah, man, I'm not gonna spoil anything, cause it seemed like Pete, it's talking about like something about Jake dying and Marceline, and like Adventure Time is really like a deep show. Yeah, I don't know what they was talking about. I was getting lost. I ain't gonna lie. It's no use to watching the rest of it, cause I ain't gonna lie, I do not know what was going on. But yeah, man, if you want me to react to that, let me know down below. Me and Dan Frank will be watching it together. I'll get his POV and my POV at the same time. I probably had like his face cam and then my face cam. But yeah, man, that's it for this video. It is currently 2 hours long. Hope you guys enjoyed it, cause I sure did. I'll be reacting to the first episode. I don't know when, but pretty soon, especially if you guys want it. Yeah, man, roll the credits, man. If you don't work, you don't eat. With that being said, I'm no project out.